Fire for your mind. Courtship clinician.
Defective women and compromised men. Defective women. Hit that like button and share this stream if you're not a beta male. And compromised men. And when you have defective women and compromised men, what happens, men don't get power, they lose power. And I'm a firm believer, I believe in the teachings of the Messiah. I believe that in order for men to lead and in order for women to get the benefits that they are looking for, they must serve us first. The problem is we've been so conditioned to serve them. And instead of being men of greatness, we become commodities to be subjugated by. And because of that, that's not healthy masculinity, that's compromised masculinity. And it never works because it's not predicated on a power exchange. Frederick Douglass said it better than me. He said the power never conceded to nothing without a struggle. It never have, and it never will. So yeah. Great expose by Dave. Dave, I want to shout you out, man. You did a phenomenal job where you dissected. I can't think of the guy's name, Dontre Whitfield, respectfully. But see, here's the paradox. Here's the paradox with this static blackness or flat blackness. I'll call it static blackness. It's a presumption and the assumption that just because your skin color is black, we all belong to the same tribe, and I refute that highly. I will argue parenthetically that there's a percentage of black women that are part of our tribe, but a lot are not part of our tribe. And I agree with Dr. L. I agree with Dave Anderson. You know, I'm saying, you my brother, I love you, but I'm not taking accountability for that because she's not part of my tribe. The biggest misnomer when it comes down to black folks is that, especially with black men, where black women are in power, then they're a separate entity. But when they're in peril or pain, then black men must come to the rescue. And I'm sitting, you killed it, man, on that show. You said, I'm not going to serve for people that don't honor and respect me. And the problem is that when you consistently reward bad behavior by asking black men to undo things that they never done, then it becomes problematic. And instead of reinforcing good behavior, you reinforce bad behavior. Part of a healthy relationship or a functioning relationship is a concept called synergy. You can't have soul fusion if you don't have synergy. But many times in the black community, black men are asked to do unhealthy undoing instead of doing healthy undoing. Healthy undoing.
Fire for your mind. Courtship clinician.
I decided to become the courtship clinician The story and the war cry behind the courtship condition was similar to some of the struggles and the things I have been through as a man. And some of you men are still going through that right now. There's a philosophical term called an existentialist crisis. Basically what that means is that you begin to ask yourself the question, why am I existing? What is the purpose of my existence? And I think that's the story of a lot of men that have not been more or less raised or under the tutelage of masculine men. One of the greatest indictments, guys, about the manosphere is that people assert and assume that the manosphere preaches misogyny and hate. But the manosphere is not responsible and was created a silo as an affront to women or black women. But the manosphere was a response to the pain and suffering that many black men were going through and continue to go through as we speak now. Once again, gentlemen, we are going through an existential crisis. Our country is in trouble. Some of you are in trouble, mentally, physically, and emotionally. And you're not ready to move to higher ground until you get the requisite help that's going to help you become the better version of yourself.
Real men put the strap down and we can toss them. This is our culture. Now we talking kosher. Clinician.
All right. There it is.
All right.
Now hit it for me.
And it ain't culture. 7 in hell is what they taught you. We'll put them, and you can back up in young dose. Kosher. Clinician.
All right, stop that. All I want you to say is, if it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. Say that first, okay?
All right.
All right, you ready?
Start over?
Yeah, start it.
No. Okay, if it ain't 7, it ain't kosher, and...
If it ain't 7, it ain't culture.
Okay.
Heaven and hell is what they taught you.
Okay, perfect. Do that again, but give me a little attitude. If it ain't 7, it ain't culture.
All right.
Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
And action.
Young heads picking back up in young dolphin. This is our culture. Now we talking kosher. Clinician. That was cool.
If it ain't 7, it ain't culture. Heaven and hell, that's what they taught you. Real men put the strap down and we can toss them. Young heads picking back up in young dolphins. This is our culture. Now we talking kosher. Clinician, masculinity issues, absent fathers who miss you, mama drama don't kiss you, all a part of the ritual, this is how they get you, separate the men, women, clipping babies pretend to, damn, lovers, haters, acting like vultures, if it ain't 7, it ain't kosher, if it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us, if it ain't 7, it ain't kosher, if it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us, if it ain't 7, it ain't kosher, if it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. Listen.
Listen. Tonight, I got my man Dave Anderson in the house. We're going to be talking about something that's very important, guys, in a time where black excellence appears to be faltering. Dave Anderson is a renowned author. He's been in Hollywood, I believe. He was on The Breakfast Club, and he's a phenomenal mind. And we're going to talk about the power of yesterday and also the psychological concept that I created called Incognegro. Incognegro is just a premise that many times black people that think outside of the norms of the so-called black community have to hide themselves in obscurity for the fear of rejection or for the fear of ridicule. So without further ado, I got my man in the house, Dave Anderson. How you doing, brother? What's going on?
Kosher, what's happening? Good, brother. I'm good, man. How are you?
All right, man, it's a pleasure, man. A pleasure to see you in the house. I told you I was going to get you, dog. I didn't forget you. I just been super busy, man. I'm a busy man with my practice, man, trying to make things pop off, man. But Dave, I came up with a concept called Incognegro. And if you guys don't see the merch, go get your T-shirts. Masculinity is expensive. You said something, Dave, that was very powerful when Detron Whitfield came on, and you talked about why men shouldn't continue to undo things that they haven't done. Black men have become the soft target in America, and there was a time where heteronormative masculinity was not only venerated, but the black men in that community also was venerated. When did you begin to see the precipitous decline of black men being ridiculed and marred, and not only in the media, but also in academia?
I think it was around, I would say, the mid to late 80s, right? For me, I started to notice that when you turned on TV, most of the husbands, if there were husbands at all, were bumbling fools. They weren't respected. Their wives were always in power positions above them, were always smarter. And it became that was the norm. And then you started hearing all of this: I'm strong, I'm independent, so on and so forth. And my whole thing is, if you got to announce it, you're not that. But the pervasive narrative, when you don't control your own narrative, becomes the overriding narrative of society. And then on top of that, because there has never been, up until very, very recently, with the advent of the manosphere and then, of course, the black manosphere, a safe space for men to be masculine. Because let's face it, the only time that black men matter in this society is if they are carrying a rainbow flag and have sparkly bottoms, or they are drunk, degenerate drug addicts.
Yes, sir.
You know, or they are somehow a victim of police brutality or the racism.
Yes.
Because all the racism is the problem. You know, we have lived in a matriarchal society since around 1966. And as a result of that, we have seen the advent of baby mama culture, Hawaiian apocalypse, a culling of intellectuals, while those who are lauded and loved and exalted for being pookies are rewarded. And then, of course, all the beta male sent manginas start getting ready for the stepfather season draft. And so for me, it just became a thing where I'm just like, how about no?
Yeah, man. Yes, same here, man. You know, I think we saw the proliferation of this malady back in the, well, I don't know how old you are. I'm 54. How old are you?
48. I'll be 49 in November.
Oh, you're a baby, man. When I was in high school, when I was a senior, you probably in the 8th grade. So you're a puppy, man. You're young. You're a young cat. You're a young cat.
That's not what my beard is saying.
Well, you know what, Dave? You've been a phenomenal person, man. I heard some of your story about being in media. You circumnavigated to media. You lost I think you were like so many pounds. You lost weight. You are a testament. You're very resilient. And you don't mind speaking truth to power. There was a book, Dave, back in the past. I think it was these 3 doctors. They were from New Jersey, and those doctors were talking about how when they got to a level of academic excellence, they were never celebrated. But then the men that were very deleterious in the community, they were celebrated. And I think that's the same for me. You know, I grew up in the rural country. I got everything from the mud. Started off in law enforcement. Worked full-time, went to school full-time, you know, went to North Carolina Central, then went back and got my I taught school for 5 years, and I got my master's from Carolina. And I did it, man. You know, it was hard. It was very hard. But you know what? Never got celebrated. Never got celebrated, never got exonerated, never said you did a good job. Never got none of that. And so Incognegro, once again, is the term that I curated, where Black excellence is often hidden. If you exude anything out of dysfunctional Black culture, then you are either the C word, an educated lame, goofy, and those same women want you back when they're, you know, ran through, don't have a good man, and then all of a sudden they tell you to take it for the team. And what I've learned from that montage that I played a few seconds ago, and we're gonna get back to it, when it comes down to power, Dave.
Yes, sir.
They want individualism, but when it comes down to servitude, then Black men need to serve their community. Do you see that paradox? Do you see that nonsense? Go ahead.
All the time. See, the thing of it is, if you have not been in control of your community because of a perfect storm of governmental conspiracy, meaning that you had the factories and all of the Black skilled labor jobs, you know, the Black jobs, when those got taken away and shipped overseas or out someplace else, and then you have you know, the whole baby face government coming, I'll pay your rent, I'll buy your clothes, I'll give you housing too, just don't have a man in the house. And they literally had people come along to check to see if there was a man's boots, ties, work, any type of thing that would indicate a man, and then it would yank your benefits. So we automatically became persona non grata, one, because our skills became useless, and they told everybody, whether they were good at being book smart or not, that they had to go to college or they were a loser. And the government is taking the place of the situation, which then put a battery in the back. And while that's happening, then the CIA comes and gets Gloria Steinem to come in and talk to black women and say, you're not black. You're a woman first. Come be feminine with me. And the thing of it is, why would the Central Intelligence Agency care about a women's liberation movement? That's because the IRS wants to double the amount of taxes.
Right. I heard that recently.
Yeah, so you have to look at how every single entity, and this isn't a conspiracy theory, because conspiracy theories do not exist. That term came up after Kennedy was assassinated. Anyway,
yes, sir.
So once you understand all of that, you then understand that we never really had an opportunity to come back and be who we were. What did they do to James Evans Sr. on Good Times? They killed him off.
They killed him off,
Know why? Because he didn't play. It was a different ball game when he was in that house versus when Carl came into that house.
Yes, sir. Totally agree. Totally agree.
That's just where we are.
Shout out to Through the Fire podcast with that $10 super sticker. He said, I'm a proud toxic masculine black man. You know, I got the t-shirt, Dave. Guys, y'all get your t-shirts. If you want a t-shirt, I'll get it ordered. Masculinity is expensive. And you did a great job breaking down that expose with Dontre Whitfield, and you did it with respect. But, you know, there's a concept, Dave, in the clinical called, it's an ego defense mechanism. And I talked about it briefly when I was on Jeff's show. Shout out to Jeff. It's called undoing. Undoing is an ego defense mechanism. And it basically means I got to go in the past and undo to assuage my ego to the people that I hurt. So it's a healthy ego defense mechanism. But unhealthy undoing is performative masculinity. And it's often predicated in undoing something that most black men never did. Most black men are invisible to the average modern woman. And, you know, you 48, I'm going on 55. There was a time where average black women respected average black men, and there was a level of respect for both. But now it's cascaded into you know, the narcissistic tendency that you see now, to the point that marriage rates are dropping, men are not courting anymore. Gen Z is learning the game from us, and what once was black excellence, Dave, it's beginning to cascade and it's beginning to go away, and we got to bring back the days of yay and nay. Hold tight.
Comes to us in its own time. Fighters, keepers, losers, we.
Those women personified black excellence. Your grandmother, your mother, your great-grandmother, those women personified black excellence. There was a time, Dave, that I will argue, and I say this with some level of bias, but I will argue that the typical American woman was great, but because of the black woman's unique struggle, I will argue that there was no greater woman based on her struggle and based on her position in society than the American black woman of the past. How would you respond to that?
I would 100% totally agree.
Break it down. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, so when it comes to our women, number one, just from a biological perspective, the black woman is the only woman that carries the mitochondrial Eve gene, which means she can produce a Chinaman, a Cambodian, European, and just the blackest of black. You know, that's one. Two, you look at the fact that HeLa cells come from a black woman, and I'm just talking biology. Then you talk about, you know, desirability, pheromones, sexual prowess, ingenuity, all of those things. I mean, you know, white women may have been fighting for liberation, but none of them are CJ Walker.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? That there's a level of things that we don't like to get into. You look at somebody like Ida B. Wells, you know, who was handling political hallways before most black folks could even understand the importance of voting power. Right. So we've got to start looking at who we are. The problem at this stage is not, and you said something very interesting. You said, and I'm paraphrasing, that the average black man was respected by the average black woman.
Right.
And the reason that is because the average black woman was average.
She was average, right.
And what has happened over time is that the average Black woman has been given a false sense of higher value than what she actually is.
Right.
Because of this.
Mm-hmm.
Because now, like, whoever was the hottest chick in your neighborhood, that became a proximity thing, right?
Yes, sir.
Because you didn't
right.
know fine outside of, Stacey Jenkins down the street who used to run real fast and pick her navel in 86.
Right. Yes,
because
sir. Right.
there were no other options. But now it's everywhere. So now if you got 500 dudes in your DMs every week telling you fine, when you're about a modest 5,
mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter because these dudes are just capping your head up because they want to.
Right.
So that gives you an overinflated sense of self. And then a lot of women, how can I put this? A lot of women mistake someone wanting to with meaning that that's now your value.
Right.
I know plenty of millionaires who will, get to clapping and get to cracking, but they're not going to bring you home. They're not going to marry you. None of that. It is what it is. And so we have to look at the overvaluing of our women and then making them feel so special because they walk around here talking about they're the most educated and they're not. They're the most enrolled. They have the highest amount of student loan debt. But I have never looked at a woman a day in my life before I met my wife, when I met my wife, and said, oh my God, look at the morals on that girl. I wonder how many degrees she has. That does not factor into a man.
Not at all.
That's not what we look for. I'm not looking to be in the same sex relationship with a man.
Right.
It's just not a thing for me.
Yes, sir.
I want a wife. I don't want a domestic partner who's trying to prove that she has a bigger member than I do.
Right.
So that's why that happens. It's not that we became undervalued. We became outnumbered by ridiculous expectation and people being gullible, falling for lies on the internet with the filter.
Well, somebody asked me the question, what I mean, the black masculinity is expensive. Where there's black masculinity, where there's white masculinity. Shout out to my man, Paul Edom. Had a great show with him yesterday. Paul is a pioneer. He was part of the movie called The Red Pill. Shout out to Paul, excellent brother. Got nothing but respect for Paul. And I do plan to do some work with him in the future. But the reason why I coined the shirt masculinity is expensive because black men of yesterday had higher standards of black men of today. Your granddaddy and your great granddaddy would have never married the typical American woman now because the standards were high. I will argue in general, I'm not saying there were no simps back in the past either, because some will argue that, daddy would come home and bring the check to Big Mama. But even though he would bring the check to her, I would say in some circles, I think it's this level of bifurcation, which basically means that daddy would bring the check home to Big Mama and Big Mama did what daddy told her to do with that check. And then there was times where daddy brought the check home to Big Mama and Big Mama did what she wanted to do. But there was a level of understanding that Big Mama, for the most part, was going to do right by that man that used that check. But, women now, I got men, I got men in therapy where they work hard all day. The wife is home and she still expect him to come home and help her clean and cook. But when you look at your grandmama, shout out to my mom. She passed last year, and I miss my mama. But the women of that generation, this whole fallacy, Dave, of the soft girl era. They say I can't rest in my femininity unless a man pay all the bills. But never before in human history, even especially in the South, where women have had the power to stay home while the men went out and worked. That was rare. Even most white women didn't have that power. Black women of yesterday didn't have the appliances of women now. Your grandmama and my grandmama had to scrub clothes and wash them by hand and then run them through a machine and then hang them up. In the South, we would hang it up on a clothes. We call it a clothesline. And maybe even Philly too. And then on top of that, they went and worked many times for white families in the South, and they still came home and cooked and respect and honor their husbands.
Correct.
But a lot of black men have been hoodwinked by a condition called hoflation. I created that term. Some of the bigger content creators have been using it, but I never heard nobody use the terminology. I did a show with Peaceful Life. He came up with a term called relationship capitalism, and I parodied that by saying hoflation. And hoflation is no different than shrinkflation. Now you're getting they're demanding more, but you're getting less. And because we got a generation of men that have such low self-esteem, they have been impacted by ego defense mechanism called introjection. They don't know what their worth is. So masculinity is expensive because see, your grandfather, my grandfather, your father, and men of the past work hard to civilize this world. Men die off early. Men are the first ones to put their lives on the line in war. Many men have gone to the grave day with dreams deferred. You can never hear what their stories are because their dreams are buried at the graveside. And so a man's masculinity is expensive, but if you give it away for free, it's no different than a whore giving a man her body for free. You got to make your masculinity expensive. And then you got to tell the woman that you're dealing with, if you're going to be my woman, because my masculinity is expensive, it's going to come with some instructions.
Mm-hmm. It's the truth. I think the thing that a lot of people are missing out on, right, is we do not control the media.
Right.
The media, okay, let's take black people off the table. I'm just going to give you a basic general history lesson on how the media will manipulate people into doing things that were not done beforehand and make it seem as normal as humanly possible, right? Before 1920, nobody bought diamonds. They were worthless, right? A company named De Beers started buying up diamond mines in Africa, primarily in South Africa, but throughout the continent. What winds up happening is they would only release a certain amount of diamonds. While that's going on, they started to introduce one thing, and that was the diamond engagement ring. And they started to come up with these things, a kiss on the hand is so sentimental, but diamonds are a girl's best friend, so on and so forth. Then what winds up happening is the diamond engagement ring takes over. If diamonds were so prevalent, how come they're barely mentioned in the Bible, but gold, rubies, emeralds, sapphires are mentioned 1,000 times more, right? Then you understand that it becomes about this. And then later on, they started to evolve a little bit more with the marketing and saying things like, 3 months salary is what she's worth. We used to just jump a broom.
Right. We used to jump a broom. Yes.
Broom, that was it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right.
So
that's
now
right.
It becomes a thing. So now everybody wants diamonds. And don't get me wrong, I like them too. Don't get me wrong.
Yes, sir.
However,
right.
I've been free since 2011. You understand what I'm saying to you? I can do this.
Right.
I'm not putting nobody out in order to do this.
Yes,
but
sir.
I don't assign the type of value that society assigns to a situation. So now you take that same example and you start telling women that they're in their soft girl era. And, clock it. These degrees, you can clock it. What is this?
Right.
Is this the world's tiniest bird chirping at the ego of women? So they're continuing to believe that because they have a divine stargate between their legs, that somehow that makes them entitled to wife privileges without having any of the wife skills. Or
right.
The other part of that is there's too many beta male simp manginas who just want to whiff because they couldn't get it on their own, and then they come to a world of money, and all of a sudden they think that they're playing in the big leagues. But I tell people all the time, money can't unlame a lame, and simping is going simp no matter the era. So you've got the perfect storm of simptitude, marketing, reality television from people like Andy Cohen and Jim Ackerman and all these people that most people don't know by name, but would be happy to Google and be shocked by what they see.
Right.
And what winds up happening is we start to believe that this behavior is normal and somehow
it's not.
And it's not.
It's not. Dave, when I traveled, I was in a movie with Al Grease, and I'll show you. I'll run that movie clip real quick. But the movie clip was called Frustrated. And the premise of Frustrated, when I was in that movie with Al Grease, is that American men have become frustrated with dating choices. Listen, men have always been slaves to the emotions of a woman, but theology say cast not thine strength to a woman. You can love your woman. I believe a man should love his woman. I believe a man should die for his woman if he have to. but I don't simp for no woman. I ain't gonna simp for a man, but I sure ain't gonna simp for no woman. I say what I mean what I say. You ain't gotta agree with my position, but I don't tap dance for nobody. That's why I've gotten in a lot of trouble. But I'm a full of position that and it's beginning to happen today with Gen Z men, when men begin to stand firm in their masculinity and say you got to offer something more, one or two things going to happen. They're going to either defecate or get off the pot. It's literally that simple. They're going to either defecate or get off the pot. 100%. And because watch this, they don't really have no power but the power that you give them. They don't have no power. Men created the world, and there are good women that help men create the world. I stand firm on saying that men and women are better together. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that many women try to tell men how to be men on their terms instead of being what a man needs that woman to be. And then that man find favor in that woman like they did back in the old school. The scripture said when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. Men are supposed to find a good woman. But see, here's the problem. Like mm-hmm. Paul Edom said, I would argue that the men are just as dysfunctional as some of the women, a lot of them. Mm-hmm. Because they don't know how to stand on power, and a lot of them themselves are broken men. Therefore, they don't demand anything. How would you respond to that?
I think you're absolutely right. But again, we're still talking about the same generation of men that was raised by their mothers. And right. The thing about that is a lot of times, if we're being very, very honest, and I tell people all the time, men have access to give access to marriage, women have access to sex. So mm-hmm. What winds up happening is when a man will say whatever he needs to say in order to get it. That's why men lie. Women will look however they need to look in order to be secure. That's why they spend so much time and money on makeup. As a result, you wind up with a whole lot of pookies poking and a whole lot of folks, being out here, left alone to their own devices. As a mm-hmm. result of that, mm-hmm. you have this beta male simp apocalypse because you're being raised by a woman who's trying to make you a good man, but you don't understand that a good man is one thing. And when I say good man, I don't mean good in the stand-up way. I mean right. Nice, submissive, beta energy, sassafras, right. all that type of stuff. Right. And now they're the same ones talking about where did all the men go? And then, of course, there's always the search for corporate Tupac. And as a result, for the search for corporate Tupac, they always wind up, shaken and upset by what they find. So my thing is, we got to start having some hard conversations. And the truth of the matter is, it's up to a lot of us, both men who understand what's happening and women who are willing to listen, to start to change the conversation and interrupt the narrative that's being put out here pervasively. And until such time as we do that, we're still going to be at a loss. But yeah, this is beta energy that was created by the single mom apocalypse, which created the beta male apocalypse, which is why we have this imbalance, along with all the other things that I've already gone over.
Yeah. I think maybe in some lifetime, but I don't see it in our lifetime, brother. It's in systems theory, when you got a defective part, where the man is compromised and the woman is defective, and you got a generation of that, they have to die off because most are not going to change. They're just not going to, and it's okay. Shout out to my man St. James Palmer for that $40 cash app. Shout out to brother St. James Palmer, as he is the #1 sponsor of the stream all the way from New York. Shout out to my man St. James Palmer. Who's Dave Anderson, man? Who is this man, this mercurial dude named Dave Anderson? I call him the Black Phoenix, the resilient one. Who is Dave Anderson, man?
Oh, man, that's a great question. I am Carl Anderson's pride and joy and Edith Anderson's baby boy. I'm a kid from the hood in Philly. Mm-hmm. I had a big brother, God rest his soul. He was also a cop, just like my dad was.
Yes, sir.
And I didn't come with any silver spoon in my mouth. I have dyslexia, dyscalculia. I have.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I had a speech impediment, and that was I was treated from that from the 3rd grade all the way up until the 9th grade.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking to somebody who speaks professionally, who writes books and handles money,
Mm-hmm.
who is dyslexic, dyscalculic, and has AUDHD.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I don't want to hear nothing because y'all don't have my handicaps.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really believe in your excuses.
Right.
Which is why I'm so hard on people. People like, Dave, ever since you lost that weight, you really hard on fat people. Yes, I am. You want to know why? Because I buried a lot of fat friends.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that we are set up in such a way. Do you realize that 85% of densely populated Black neighborhoods in major cities are food deserts?
Food deserts, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
Yep.
That's absolutely insane.
Right.
And so what winds up happening is we have a health crisis. It's so bad that we don't even realize that we're sick. I didn't think anything was wrong with me when I was 560 pounds.
Wow.
Because
wow.
what people don't understand is the dopamine receptors are just as high for sugar, if not higher, than they are for cocaine. So you don't think anything is wrong. You think that I thought I was living normally. I did not realize how sick I was until I started to lose the weight.
Right.
So I get past all of that. I'm the youngest person to have a full-time contract at the age of 9 for radio.
Right.
And, I started my radio career on an Ivy League campus, moved on to television, film, syndicated radio. I have produced for everybody from Les Brown, Charlamagne the God, Wendy Williams, Ricky Smiley, DJ Blue. My career has put at least 5 people in the Broadcast Radio Hall of Fame and another 10 into the Black Radio Hall of Fame. So I'm not a person that hasn't seen what I'm talking about. And I tell people all the time, the problem is people think that Hollywood is a place. Hollywood is not a place. It is a culture. And that culture comes at a cost. And that cost is very, very deadly. And there's certain things that I would not compromise. And there's certain things that I would not do up to and include dance.
Right.
And I think you know what I mean when I say dance. So I got myself to a point where I realized that I started giving ideas to these corporations, and these corporations would make millions and in some cases hundreds of millions of dollars off of things that I came up with.
Right.
And I wasn't getting none of that.
Yeah. I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, this little term called work for hire, things of that nature. You begin to learn like, oh, okay, this is how they play the game. But okay, if I could do what did Jay-Z say? Well, they say they made whole. Okay, make another whole. So if I could do it for them, I could do it for me. And so that's what I was on at all times. And I went out here and I did everything I possibly could to start, grow, scale my business, learn sales skills. I sold gutters and furniture and cable, every possible thing I could, because sales jobs, you eat what you kill. So you learn how to survive. And then people kept asking me how I was doing so well in sales, but I spent my entire life selling stuff on commercials and speaking to people. And those skills translated really well into the business world and into the entrepreneurship world, because I know how to entertain before I know how to educate.
Right.
And so 23 books later, 22 consecutive #1 bestsellers. Here I am. I've got a great morning show. It's called DAMN, Dave Anderson Morning News. We're doing phenomenal numbers. We've only been on for 10 weeks, but we are up to 29,000 subscribers already.
Wow.
And, we're doing well. We're getting sponsor after sponsor after sponsorship offer. And like, I'm on YouTube full time. I stopped touring in support of my latest book, The Real Black Agenda, which is available everywhere, but you can go to therealblackagenda.com and get it. And in this book, I outline all the things that I think, based on my experience and years of research, that Black people need to do that we're not doing consistently and collectively enough in order to stop waiting for somebody else to take care of us and for us to start demanding from the people we've taken care of through our blood, sweat, tears, and our votes. And it's been phenomenal.
What did you learn in entertainment, in the media, about the misandry, the rampant misandry that continues to proliferate now? What did you learn?
As far as how the way that when you say rapper misandry, you mean the way that women hate men?
Right. Yeah. How did you navigate that? I mean, you're outspoken.
Oh, they hated me.
Okay.
Oh, they absolutely hated me.
Gotcha.
And I was cool with that. See, the thing of it is, when you start your career off before puberty, you don't have the certain type of ego most people have. Every human being has an ego, and I'm not gonna lie, I have one, but I feel like I've earned mine. Having said that, though, I don't really believe my hype, and I also don't believe my detractors. So nobody can really hold me prisoner to how you feel about me. How I feel about myself when I look in the mirror is a different thing. Now, I hear things on the internet, and I see things, and I'll choke somebody and, you know, tell them what it is. When I say choke somebody, I mean like in the comments, not
Right.
I don't
Right.
But what I understand is that we are fickle people. And I learned that when you are like me, because I'm a person who's going to call it out, right? If this were a fairy tale, I'd be the little boy in the Emperor's New Clothes. It's like, yo, old boy is naked. What's wrong with y'all? Oh, you can't say that. No. I'm not worried about that. So for me, I'm a big believer in literally being who I am. And I'm okay with you not liking me. Listen, once I realized that being fired don't hurt, that was it. And then once I realized I could build my own business and never be fired again because I own my life,
Right.
Bro, I'm good. You know, the people that care about me are the only people whose opinions that matter, and they will tell you that if I'm not in alignment in my spirit with what they got to say, I ain't doing it. That goes for my mother, my wife, my daughters. That's it. I have always been my own person.
Yeah, same here. I'm very determined. I respect all men, bow to none. I know there are people that got talents that supersede mine, but I'm a go-getter. I don't think it get no better than my story coming up in rural Eastern North Carolina.
Whoa. Jacksonville, New Bern, Greenville, Wilmington. What part of Eastern North Carolina are we talking?
I'll tell you in the background. It's
right.
It's near Pitt County, Greenville.
All right, I know exactly.
But I'll tell you more detail. But yeah, man. But Black excellence was a thing of the past. American excellence was a thing of the past. But it's beginning to cascade into a black hole. I call it the black hole. Is now going into a black hole, Dave. The black hole. Hold tight. Is now cascading into a black hole, and it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. What does black excellence mean to you? That's number one. And then number two, when did you have your epiphany about the issues in this faltering black community?
Okay, so first of all, let me point of clarification, and I differentiate with a lot of people on this. I don't believe in the term black excellence. I think it's a double negative. All excellence is black. Everything is an offshoot of what we do, whether it's country music, gospel music, art, style. Everything we do has been copied and then homogenized, bleached out, smacked down, flipped, rubbed down, whatever you want to call it. Oh no. Our excellence is excellence. Everything else needs to categorize itself as whatever culture it is. Like K-pop is black excellence, if you want to be technical about it. You know, country, so on and so forth. So for me, everything we do is excellent, man. Like it doesn't really get much better than that. The thing that I have noticed is that they have convinced us that everything we do is bad, but every time I turn around, they're where we are. For example, you look at these Korean businesses, you look at these Chinese businesses, you look at the Indian businesses, you look at the Italian businesses, all in our neighborhoods. If our neighborhoods are so bad, why are they making so much money in our neighborhoods? And then we wonder why allegedly our dollar only circulates 6 hours before it leaves our community. Because nothing in our community, very little things in our community are owned by us. In Atlanta, which is supposed to be the black Mecca, supposedly, less than 26% of the businesses are black owned, and of those, 46% are regular one-person sole proprietors. So they're not employee businesses. It's just one person. I got an LLC. Here we go. What I'm trying to get people to understand is that they're doing this hoodwink, and now they've taken the hoodwink to a global scale. You got people talking about, brother, I need you right now. Kosha, listen to me, brother. Go back to Ghana. Go home. You should go home. But you hear people got mad when President Trump said they're not sending their best. They're sending trash, right? He also referred to certain countries as S-hole countries. But my whole thing is, if you're so excellent and you're so great and you're all these things, how come you're not fixing your S-hole country? Why are you over here?
That's a good point. Right. Right.
And then if the hood is so bad, why do they gentrify Harlem at a rapid rate right now? Do you realize that black ownership in Harlem has dropped 90% since Clinton put his library up?
I didn't know that.
90%. Now you've got these democratic socialists.
They are.
We know what that code word is for.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It rhymes with Romulists. Running, talking about, I'm going to fix everything. I'm going to get you free buses. No. So we have lost sight of who we are. And I'm running around here pulling people out of the matrix, and they're asking me why their eyes hurt. And I'm okay, so you've never used them before. And what we have to start doing is realize that it's not going to be your podcast mic. It's not going to be your little ass think tank. It's not going to be your group chat. It's not going to be your voting. It's not going to be your song singing and your marching that's going to get you there. What is going to get you there is writing a check, knowing who you are, physical fitness, conscious, deliberate effort to restore the black family. Even if you don't work out, that does not mean that you cannot still function as a unit. It happens every single day. We have got to start operating like a machine. When you look at Chinatown, how many black businesses you know in Chinatown?
I don't know any.
There's one in Philadelphia, and that came at a real high cost. There's one in Philadelphia, and they just opened up 3 weeks ago. There's a reason for that. How many black-owned businesses you see in Little Italy? You don't. The Diamond District, the Delhi District, you don't. The black community, please. The black community is thriving with businesses. We just don't profit from them. And even if that's okay, because I do business globally. So I've got people who are white. I've got business owners in Europe. I've got business owners on the continent. I got business owners in Japan. I don't have an issue with that, because when their money comes into my hand, it becomes a black dollar and I can pay black people. My problem is when you look at the period between, let's say, the 20s and the 60s, when the Irish weren't considered black and the Italians weren't considered black, and weren't considered white, and the Italians weren't considered white, and the Jewish people weren't considered white, they started to organize. And they organized and they started to create certain circles in order to protect their community. And they charged a tax. And anybody who would come in to do business got taxed. When the last time we taxed Mrs. Hong for her Chinese laundry? When's the last time we taxed Mrs. Wen for her Korean nails? When's the last time we taxed Umbutu, for his shoe service? Like, what are we talking about here? Everybody comes in our community and we don't demand anything, but Billy needs a scholarship. Michelle need money to get ballet shoes. You see what I'm saying? Like, we don't do that. We got the crime part down.
Right.
Clearly, we got the crime part down. It's the organized that we're missing. And I'm not telling anybody to commit crimes. I'm saying protect and gatekeep your community the same way you protect and gatekeep Tony Hinchcliffe saying a horrible joke at a Kevin Hart roast. Have that same energy for your community.
Let me say something. I like what this young lady said, and you may agree or disagree with me, Dave. Here's my premise on that. I don't believe in just supporting people either just because of skin color. That goes back to Incognegro. I'll support you because you personify a level of professionalism that supersedes skin color. This static blackness phenomenon to me is dangerous because in Africa, we were never one conflagration of Africans. We were from different tribes. And I will argue, Dave, that those that were complicit in the transatlantic slave trade, I will argue that it was due to what's called intertribal warfare. Intra-tribal within different nations, but they didn't identify as black. They identified as their nation, as their tribal origin. You from Philly, I'm sure there are Philly gangs. They might look like you, but they don't have your consciousness. And so Incognegro basically means that if I don't agree with you just because you're black, I got to minimize myself in order to be accepted. And I can't do that. I'm not just going to support nobody because of no blackness. And I firmly believe this, David. Until we have a community where men are leaders in their homes, where men are leaders in their communities. I know you're a leader in your home and your community, but I would say you are outliers to some degree. I don't think there are a lot of Dave Andersons that have, done what you've done and being a man in your community. Now, some people say it got something to do with your zodiac. I don't know. I mean, I know you're a Scorpio. I'm a Leo. We're similar. But you're doing it, man. You're doing it. You're resilient. But we got to get out of this personification that just because a person is black, I call it static blackness, that they're part of your conscious tribe. They're not. If a white man show me love, if a white man show me grace, if a white man help me, I'm gonna help that white man. I'm gonna support you, and I support everybody that have my level of consciousness, because in the kingdom of heaven there is no race. Now I understand that because of our unique position in America, we had to come together. Black people came together under the banner of the struggle, but the women of our community no longer respect black men. They don't respect black men, and so I will argue if a black man finds a woman from the continent, and that woman show him love, or whoever, you get with a woman that's part of your consciousness and your value system, and you form new communities and form new identities, and don't deal with the dusty ones, because white people don't support white trash.
No.
They don't support them, but somehow we're supposed to keep supporting folks just because they black, or giving them excuses just because they black, and then they encapsulate all black folks in the same power with the trash that caused most of the chaos. How would you respond? Go ahead.
Well, first I want to shout out to Shirai Kabri. Thank you so much for your comment. And here's the thing: I don't believe in supporting black businesses at all. Let me be clear. Support is for children. Support is what canes give to people with broken hips.
Right.
I patronize businesses based on my needs, wants, and
there you go. That's right.
I am a patron. I am a customer. I am not your supporter. Not here for that. That's why people say, "Are you a Trump supporter?" Donald Trump don't need my support. He's a billionaire. Well, I'm gonna turn in my Tesla because Elon don't. Elon is the world's first trillionaire. Let it sink in. You're focusing on the wrong things. I don't believe in support. You give more respect to a place like a Walmart that has 25 lanes, but still has you checking out your own stuff, like you got a blue vest and a pair of tight Sears cotton Dockers on.
Right.
You gotta be hiding out your mind. It's not about support. I'm a foundational Black American. My ancestors built this country, right? And for me, I am here for people who are willing to do business and do what's necessary. I am not here to deal with these folks that want to come and you remember you were a kid and you had to do a science project, and there was always that one kid that didn't do anything but bring the poster board, but didn't do none of the research, didn't do none of the work. That's how I feel about these folks. Oh no, we are African Americans. Listen, I'm not Jesse Jackson. I reject that term outright, because historically less than 3% of those boats came here. If you read They Came Before Columbus by Ivan Van Sertima, or if you read Before the Mayflower by Leroy Bennett Jr., you will know that the majority of us were already here. And yeah, let's go ahead and ban that person. But for me, I'm not going to get into the support this and support that. I have never I've lived in 34 cities in 19 states. I have never seen a Chinatown sign that said, "Oh, support a Chinese business." It don't happen.
Right.
I ain't never seen a sign that says support Jewish businesses. I ain't never seen a sign that said support Vietnamese, Korean businesses, Ethiopian businesses, Nigerian businesses, Jamaican businesses. I ain't seen it. You want to know why? Because every group I just named is ingrained in their culture. With us, we automatically look at us through the eyes of the people who control the media that we watch, read, and hear. Tell us that we're automatically lesser from the time we're popped out of the womb until we're put back in the tomb.
Right.
So we're already at a psychological deficit that I absolutely inherently reject. So yeah, I'm not going to sit up here and support a Black business. I build Black businesses. I scale Black businesses. I buy from Black businesses. I will not support a Black business. Black businesses are not children. They are viable. Now, some of them need a lot of work, and some of them need a lot of help and a lot of structure. But yeah, no, I refuse to automatically put Black businesses, which were the backbone, and Black labor was the backbone of how this country became a superpower, into some type of victim. I need help because I'm third place in the Special Olympics narrative. Ain't nobody gonna be no victim over here on my watch.
Well, listen, you got a powerful presence. I got a new term, man. I might want to do some business with you and I. It's gonna be a powerful term that's gonna supersede FBA. It's gonna be dope too. But I gotta get it legally printed first. I think you're gonna like the terminology, but I'm not gonna say it now.
Yes, sir.
But I want to show you something, man. I want to show you something, Dave, and you can tell me what you think about this. because there's a lot of manipulation going on, and there is also a lot of dysfunction going on. Let me show you this clip, and then I'm gonna show you some more clips. Hold tight.
Yes, sir.
About to play first to 10. I'll go first. You
gonna go first?
Yeah. You
Okay.
have the ball first. Alright.
Yeah. Make sure you try to stay in the green. Come on. Boy. All right, that's out. Bring it back. Bring it back. Bring it back.
Now, Dave, that is a woman
Mm-hmm.
dressed provocative with her son.
Mm-hmm.
One could argue that's a form of child abuse. And this behavior is more prevalent not only in America, but in, black communities. I don't even like using the word black, but in communities of people that look like you and me.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on this, man? Because that's all tied into the theory of black excellence. Go ahead.
You don't need cocaine no more because the dopamine is the attention addiction.
Mm-hmm.
So you're doing this because you're trying to, again, all this is stepdaddy bait.
Mm-hmm.
That's all this is. She's a single mom because she got country cracked, meaning she shed her clothes and spread her legs for somebody who's no longer in the picture. As a result, she got to put her clappers on display in order to hook a man that wants to come and be the responsibility of some other man who don't want to be responsible for what he laid down to make.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely disgusting. Is it abuse? Yeah, it is. Is it also desperation? Yeah. Is it also counterintuitive of how a lot of these women sit up here and talk about how intelligent they are, how strong and independent they are, but then they do this? If you got to lead with your cheeks, you've already lost. Like if you lead with your cheeks, you're already behind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's it.
What are you saying, man, in dating? You from Philly. I don't know what, jokingly, you can laugh at me, but, I've heard that they've always said that Philly got some of the worst women. I don't know if it's true or not, but they said Philly got some bad women, man. But, but Dave, what are you seeing, man, when you traverse in the greater Philadelphia area or this in northeastern United States? What are you seeing, man?
I mean,
go ahead.
It's insane. My wife's from Michigan. I will say that it's pretty much the same all across. Like the distinctive differences that used to separate one place from another have begun to melt away and blend together because everybody is acting the same way based upon what they see in front of them. This thing has become a way to make the world much smaller. In the right hand, that's a beautiful thing because you're talking about business, education, networking, resources. In the wrong hands, you're talking about clout, sex, overinflated egos, and trying to siphon resources from one community to another. So yeah, I'm not really a fan of it. I think that there are a whole lot of Niecy girls on the East Coast. Big wad of gum in their mouth, hardcore. I don't want to listen to nobody. I want this, that, and the third. You got a list of demands, but you don't know how to work an air fryer that don't have pictures.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I'm good.
Mm-hmm. You are a very erudite man. You're a resilient business owner.
Yes,
by 2030, it's been predicted that 30%, up to 45% of women are going to be childless and single. Mm-hmm. And I jokingly called that the coming apocalypse. When you think about trying to have a strong community, strong homes, strong families, and everything is, in my opinion, is still on the precipitous downcline, what do you see on the horizon in the next 5 to 10 years?
It could go either way.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we start prioritizing what family means and what family actually is, it's a completely different ballgame. Mm-hmm. Right? Because here's the thing. If I talk about the Waltons, I'm talking about a family. If I'm talking about Disney, I'm talking about a family. If I'm talking about Wells Fargo, I'm talking about two families. Lamborghini is a family. Like Ferrari is a family. Like Kardashian is a family. Kennedy is a family. Bush is a family. What we're missing is that we have a generation of women who like going by their middle name as if it's their last name instead of playing for the team that brought you to the game. right? When you look at any sport, what's on the back of a jersey?
Numbers.
Aside from numbers.
The color.
Aside from the color, what's written on the jersey?
The name.
No, the last name.
Okay.
Not the middle name. Not not Michelle Lynette.
Right.
Not Shamika Lachey. It's Ocho Cinco. It's Anderson, Jackson, Jordan, Tyson. Like, the last name is who you play for. And if you notice, when a man plays, he plays for the last name, and that's why his last name is on his back.
Right.
So he does not lose sight, and everybody knows who he's playing for, who he is, what that means. I tell my daughter straight up and down, like, you're an Anderson. If I were to bring my youngest daughter in here right now and I say, what do I mean when I say you're an Anderson? She'll tell you Andersons never give up.
Yes, that's what I tell my girls. I tell my girls that. I'm so glad you said that. I tell my girls that because I don't give up. I've been through a lot of adversity. I've been set up. I've lost jobs. I've been hoodwinked. I've been undermined. I've been traumatized several times, but still I stand. And so I love your level of resilience. Now,
yes, sir.
Some would say that Dave is just a genetic anomaly. Everybody's not Dave Anderson. He just had that inner Janation quad that others just don't have. And that might be true. I do believe in what's called resiliency theory, where some people are just resilient and they're able to supersede the norm. As we're getting deeper in this conversation, Dave, what schools did you matriculate in? What colleges did you go to?
Temple University, and then I went to New Millennium Bible Fellowship. So I, broadcasting, telecommunications, mass media with concentration in English and jazz vocal performance. And then, of course, I got into divinity. I went to seminary, and for me, I just love to learn. Learning is a thing for me. I don't really care about degrees. I care more about getting the knowledge than I care about the college. And yeah, I'm a genetic anomaly. I mean, if you were to look up Dave Anderson, Black Male Resilience, you'll see an article. But the truth of the matter is, most people are not dyslexic. Most people don't have AUDHD. Most people don't have dyscalculia. Most people don't have a speech impediment. In spite of all of that, you are either where you are. See, every human being on this earth, especially our people, are completely self-made. But only the successful will admit it. I can't solve a problem I'm not responsible for. So the first step is taking ownership. Okay, I have these issues. Now that I understand that I have these issues, do I have to move a little differently? Did I have to take an hour and a half nap before I came to do the show? Yes, I did, because I needed rest and I needed to focus. Cool. Does that mean that I have to prep a little bit more when I do my morning show than somebody else does? Yes, but that's okay. I'm used to that. Do I have so many ideas? When I wrote this book, right? I wrote this book in about a month, and then I was like, yo, I got more to say. And so I started writing another book. It took me 2 weeks. There are advantages and disantages to my conditions. But I was like, I can't just put this book right out. Like, I learned from Prince, because Prince just wanted to put music out. You can't do that. So I said, I'm going to wait, and I'm going to drop this next book in February. I'm going to let this book do what it does, and I'm going to keep it out there the same way Powernomics is still selling, the same way The Art of the Deal is still selling. Like that's my most successful book. But I said, you know what? I'm going to back it off a little bit. But again, whenever you're going in the wrong direction, all you got to do is turn around. If you don't have my issues and you're sitting around living a lesser life than the one I'm living, it sucks to be you. That's a choice. If you're unhappy, it's not my wife's job to make me happy. It's not my daughter's job to make me happy. It is my job to make me happy. It is my job to make my family wealthy. It is my job to make sure that my family is safe and fed and happy. Once you understand that if it's meant to be, it is up to me. That eliminates all the excuses. Y'all can talk about this magical white man who's holding you back, or you can find a way to kick him in the nuts and keep it moving. But you can't do both effectively. Yeah, I know I'm different. I know I'm special. I know I have gifts that some people would call handicaps. That's fine. Guess what? I came from a slum. My dad had full-blown Alzheimer's and dementia and didn't remember me half the time by the time I was 17. What's your excuse? my mom would put together TVs on an assembly line and drive school buses to put herself through Cheney University. And then after she had me, she went back to get her master's in education so she could make more money. And she went and got that from an Ivy League university, if that means something to you.
Yeah, it does mean
something to
something
me because my mother did it in her 50s.
Yeah.
And I'm extremely proud of that. But the thing that I have, and my wife had to teach me this, Kosher, because I thought everybody had it. I did not, and it's not arrogance when I say this. It's I didn't know. My wife says to me, she says, David, she says, you don't understand. I said, what is it I don't understand? Like, why can't these people just do it? Talking about my business coaching clients, because she always tell me I'm too hard on my business coaching clients. They don't call me the business bully because I'm cute. And I said to her, I said, what is it that I'm not getting? She said, you had parents that would not let you give up on something, would not let you quit. My mom was like, oh, you want to play 7 brass instruments? Cool. If you quit, you can't touch it again until you're out of my house.
That's true. Right.
Oh, you want to play ball? Cool. If you quit, you can't touch it again until you're out of my house. Oh, you want to be captain of the debate team? Cool. You can't quit and then come back until you're out of my house. So the rule was, if you start it, you finish it. You follow it all the way through. Ain't no quit. I don't want to hear no excuses because you asked for this. And what you don't realize is every time you ask for a blessing, there is an underside to that blessing.
Right? Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, the theology says if a man take on an endeavor, he must count the cost. He got to count the cost. And the part of discipleship is counting the cost. Shout out to my man Justin Moore for that $10 super chat. He said, thanks for the conversation and the information. Let me finish playing this, man, real quick. Hold tight.
Okay.
It's my ball. You airballed it. Come on. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Check.
Now, this woman, David, is well, let me turn this down. I don't know if I want to get a copyright. But this woman is twerking in front of children with a baby strapped on around her.
Is that what that is? I thought that was some kind of fancy purse.
Oh no. Hold tight. Let me finish play. Hold on. This woman right here. You see her?
I'm looking. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I see it now. Oh my gosh, she does have a baby.
She got a baby. And she was doing that, Dave, in front of children, in front of 2 young kids. And so this kind of dysfunction has become the norm, which is not only antithetical to American excellence, but also what once was good behavior in the African American community. It's greatly dissipated, and this is the norm now. I would argue this is more of the norm now than women being more respectful and honorable of themselves. But these are the same ones that'll say that they're not protected, and they'll tell a black man to go build something. How would you interpret that based on what you just saw, man?
I mean, that's absolutely insane, but that's how she got that baby in the first place. The other part of that is you can't talk about protection when you don't want to take a man's direction. Period, point blank. Like, that's it. If you know better than me, then why am I here? I'm a huge believer of there can't be two chiefs in the teepee. It don't work. I know a lot of us come up with, oh, well, we the president, and we the culture clinician. No, we. Do I look like Jeremiah to you? Is there anything about me that is French? We. Am I Lil Wayne and Bobby Valentino? What is we talking about? We. Am I Nintendo? We. What is we? No. So for me, when you have rewarded this behavior through attention, currency, and beta male scent mangina standards, you're only going to get more of it. That's it. This is what happens. I was jamming to the song because I ain't heard it in 26 years. And I don't even personally, I don't even like the Yin Yang Twins personally. Yeah, that song jamming.
Yeah, I didn't even know who it was, man. I don't listen to that kind of music, but yeah, I think I heard it briefly, but I'm not much into a lot of music like that. But all skin folk and kinfolk. What's been some of your struggle, Dave, with dealing with people that look just like you? And then we're gonna get into deeper conversations about these trending issues and trending topics around the world. But what's been some of your greatest issue with people that look like you but don't necessarily treat you like the man that you are? Because I get torn when I hear people say, you talk about white supremacy on one end, but yet the same folks don't support you, the same people don't support me, the same people don't even reverence and look out for you. But at the same time, when there's a crisis, they want you to come together and be silent and be gatekeepers. How would you respond to that? Go ahead.
I think it's 100% the truth. The thing that I need everyone to understand is Buddha, Moses, Muhammad, Christ, MLK, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey. I could do this all day. A prophet is never appreciated in their own home. A lot of people don't like the fact that I have, within a very small margin of error, continuously and most accurately predicted the future based upon how I watch people move. Wise man once said, if you understand how people think, you ain't got to concern yourself with what they will do. And so with that becomes a problem. I remember sitting down with Gary Vee in 2017, and he told me, well, what do you think is going to be the most important thing? And I said, podcasting.
Right.
And at the time, that just seemed like a silly answer. Is it silly now? So I'm also of the mind, and I told my daughters this, that because we don't gatekeep enough, by the time my daughters are my age, seeing a black rapper is going to be as weird as seeing Prince, Slash, or Lenny Kravitz in rock music. Because we have not kept our traditions to ourselves, right? Bruce Lee was ostracized for teaching people who were not Chinese.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was ostracized. I was a big fan. That's a no-no.
I didn't know that.
So again, it's not that it's just the racism, because I don't believe in white supremacy. I believe in bigotry. I believe in racism. I don't believe in white supremacy because I've yet to meet a white person who's supreme over me. I reject the term outright.
I agree with that.
How are you supreme over someone you can't beat?
Right.
How are you supreme over someone you can't outthink? That sorry, respectfully, I just don't believe in that. I also have yet to meet somebody who's going to be able to oppress me, because even if you kick me down, you're going to have to keep me there. And I ain't met nobody who's been big, bad, or bold enough to do that. So we get caught up in this magical, mythical white man. And I'm not saying that there's not racism, and I'm not saying that there's not bigotry. What I am saying is we've got to stop platforming the people who continue to poison us with nonsense and indoctrination, whether that's Mark Lamont Hill, Roland Martin, D.L. Hughley, Ricky Smiley, Sheehan Bryant, Timu Jamal Bryant, anybody whose last name is Bryant except for Kobe Bryant, R.I.P. They got to go.
No. I totally agree. These so-called Negro agitators, I call them buffer class Negroes, Boule buffer class Negroes. They play a role in the destruction of logical, cogent thought. I like what you said, man, and I do agree with you. There are some people, like you were saying, we understand that there are systemic barriers, have been systemic barriers.
Certainly.
And in some situations, if your name was Daquan versus Donovan, Daquan might have a harder chance of circumnavigating than Donovan. That it happens. But we also are saying that you can't keep using that solely as an excuse for not being successful. It might take you longer to get there. But imagine if Dave and Kosher practice group economics together.
100%.
There ain't nothing stopping you from practicing group economics. People coming out of pre-antebellum slavery and post-antebellum slavery, they practice group economics here in North Carolina. Bull City, man, Durham was the epicenter of black folks putting in work. Here, North Carolina has produced some true business bullies. Wilmington, North Carolina. Wilmington, where my cousin from New York lives now. Wilmington and
Shout out to
Durham.
the port city.
Yeah. They were epicenters of former slaves coming together, working together until sadly some white militias came and destroyed them. So look, in God's economy, God don't see race. God only see human beings, and there's no such thing as race. Race is a construct. So I don't get caught up in no. I mean, if you allow it to affect you, it will. But I try not to get caught up in that. I try to say, okay, what can I do? Even though there might be the barriers sometimes can be real or imagined, but I'm not going to let that stop me. Never in a million years, David, I think I would come from rural Eastern North Carolina and become the man that I am. Well, actually, I take that back. I'm a dreamer. I'm a go-getter. And I knew I was, look, my logic was, Dave, I'm going to shoot for the moon. I might land on the stars, but I'm still going to shoot for the moon. Amen. And I did it. It was hard. It was a lot of hard work, a lot of setbacks, but I did it. I'm going to talk about, like I said, all skin folk and kinfolk, and incognegro, meaning you have to dumb yourself down in order to be supported. What were your struggles in Hollywood? You talked about being a producer of all these big megastars in the media, but what were some of your struggles? Because I'm sure you had to be incognegro at times, dealing with certain factions. How did you navigate that, Dave, in your business, with your business acumen and dealing with some of these high performers in entertainment and also in media? Go ahead.
I think it's a situation where people have to understand I was still a very, very young man. And what I understood at the time was that I could still do what I did, but I had to show people in order for them to leave me alone. Like, you can have a vision, but people don't necessarily get it. And as a result of that, it creates a certain level of conflict. And I was always of the mind that I'm right. I just have to prove it to you. The problem for me was, as an employee, I'm not a good employee. And the reason I'm not a good employee is because I can see how to do something, and most people are wrong in the way that they want to do it. So I'm going to do it my way. But see, when you don't own the ball, the stadium, the football field, or the hot dog vendors, you can't necessarily just do what you want to do. And I always found that to be a problem for me. So I had to navigate a lot of stuff. And then when it got to a point where people started to realize that I was dope, they started to find ways to manipulate and use me and milk me for my talents. And then, of course, there's something that I will say, for entertainment purposes only, is what you would call the conversation. And the conversation goes like this: hey, we will give you this or that or that or this. And all you have to do is compromise this or that or that or this. And if you say no, then you can either wind up gone or made to look like you're not mentally there, or you can wind up in prison or in trouble or now canceled. And I've said no to the conversation, while I've had colleagues who have said yes. And because they have said yes to said conversation, they have deals worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And
oh wow,
we'll leave it there. So I've had to navigate that. I've had to wind up being blackballed, homeless, beat down, beaten up, name dragged through the mud. Lost to history. Imagine being at a bar and you're watching TV, and the show you created is now the #1 show on a particular network. Even though you're not the one in the credits being named as the creator, but if you looked at my YouTube channel, you would see that I created that show.
Wow. So I want you to talk about that without giving away too much information. But I want you to talk about your story of being homeless, because I was studying you and I was listening to you on the show with the woman. I want you to chronicle your journey where you were homeless. Give me a series of unfortunate events where you were homeless, where you were destitute. Where I remember on the latest show you said you were washing out of a sink.
Oh yes.
And then you went from being the phoenix that you are, from through the fire to rise again, because Scorpio symbolizes the phoenix.
Yes, sir.
So tell me about that, man. Tell the audience about that, and tell the young man what you learned in that journey, in your masculine journey. Go ahead.
So what wound up happening was I was producing a show, and this was a time that was not as understanding to not only people's mental health and making sure that people took their medicine, and also a time where people weren't getting canceled for verbal abuse, physical threats, and ADHD, bipolar disorder that everyone knew about. But because this person's name was on the marquee, they just let them do whatever they wanted to do. Mm-hmm. If that had happened today, I'd be a billionaire because of what I went through. Mm-hmm. But for me, they used to call me Radio Tupac because I would get fired, and then you wouldn't hear from me for 6 months, and the next thing you know, I'm over at the other station going, first off, up your in the click you came, West Side. You see what I'm saying? Like I was just that dude. Like I come back. You're like, oh, he's back.
Right.
But this time, everybody in the industry who could thought that somebody else in the industry had me, and I was just laying low, but I wasn't laying low. I was struggling. I couldn't really get jobs like that, not anything substantial to what I was making. And as a result, you know, it's funny. Jay-Z got a song where he says, you know, when the money goes, will the honey stay? And, you know, that was the first thing that left. And then I wound up with all of my possessions, or at least as much as I could carry, in my truck. And then I was washing up in a gas station sink in Arlington, Texas at 360 in Carrier. It was a quick trip. It's still there. I went back a few years ago because I was doing a stand-up gig at the Addison Improv. So I drove up just to see my old apartment, which was across the street from the gas station that I was washing up in. And I remember parking in between tractor trailers and at the end of a Walmart parking lot so that nobody would bother my stuff. And, you know, I wound up getting a job at a call center. And one day I heard from my brother, he's like, yo, what are you doing? I'm like, I was working at a call center. He was like, well, where are you living? I'm like, and I couldn't lie to him. I could never lie to my brother. I miss him so much. He died a few years ago, but
yeah.
Sorry, he was like, man, he said, thank you. He said, Negro, if you don't bring your ass home, I got you. And so I stayed in my brother's garage, and I built myself back up, and I became the first director. While I was doing that, I started creating a show on Blog Talk Radio, and I had a lot of favors that I'd never called in. So my show grew very quickly. My first guest was Maxwell. My second guest was Talib Kweli. My third guest was Queen Latifah. So all of a sudden, overnight, I become the #1 show on Blog Talk. Then a buddy of mine out of I believe Florida, no, the West Coast, he hit me. He was like, yo, there's this Italian guy. He's got this company, and they're trying to make a break in the US. You know, I want you to come on board and help. So I helped found this company called Spreaker. And Spreaker, before I divested from it, went and bought Blog Talk. And then Spreaker, after I divested, was sold to iHeart. So while all that's going on, I became the first director of social media for a Fortune 500 company. And that was my last corporate gig. So that's how I got out of homelessness. And I told myself I would never be there again. That's why I don't mind sacrifice, because I'm not washing my nuts in the gas station sink. If I gotta sacrifice cable or whatever the hell else it is, that don't really bother me, because I'm not washing my lower extremities in the gas station sink at 360 in Carrier. And the thing that I learned is that a lot of relationships are not only conditional, they're transactional. People only care about what you can do for them. Most people do not give a rat's ass about who you are and wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire.
I totally agree.
That's a very hard pill to swallow, because you want to believe that these people are your friends. You want to believe that these people care for you, but no, no, they don't. They can give a blue dot fart. So
yeah. Well, you listen. I'm loyal. I'm always been very loyal. I've had to learn the hard way. You know, I tend to see the people in my circle through the lens of positivity, but as I've gotten older, I've realized too that country ethos that I had in the past word is bond. The world don't operate like that no more, man. In general, it don't. You might find a couple of people here and there that still operate on that premise. But just like when you and I were chopping up in the background, I said, Dave, I got you. I don't
sir.
talk to hear myself talk. If I say I got
No,
you, I
sir.
got you, man.
No,
I've
sir.
always been that way. I grew up in the country, where in the country your word was your bond. But I understand that that's a faltering institution. That doesn't you don't see it as much as you used to. And I struggle with it sometimes because I assume once again that if I'm good people, you're gonna be good people.
100%.
But the world don't operate that way. But I do say,
Sure
I will say, when you do find those people, you keep them near and dear to you. Because those people are rare and they're gems and they're far and few in between. I'm gonna show you this real quick. Hold tight.
Yes, sir.
Hold tight. Let me add this back. Hold on that show. You say I'm not going to serve for people that don't honor and respect me. And the problem is that when you consistently reward bad behavior by asking black men to undo things that they never done, then it becomes problematic. And instead of reinforcing good behavior, you reinforce bad behavior. Part of a healthy relationship or a functioning relationship is a concept called synergy. You can't have soul fusion if you don't have synergy. But many times in the black community, black men are asked to do unhealthy undoing instead of doing healthy undoing. Healthy undoing is an ego defense mechanism that says that I did Dave wrong, so therefore I'm going to go to him as a man and apologize. I did Jeff wrong, I'm going to go to him as a man and apologize. But unhealthy undoing is a psychopathology where black men are told to undo something they never done. And that's dangerous because, see, I've always said, Jeff, and the panel, that we got a generation.
Tonight we're asking a hard question. What if black excellence didn't vanish? What if the disciplined, faithful, accountable, community-minded people simply went underground because the culture started rewarding dysfunction more than virtue? That is the psychology of the Incognegro.
The state has now rested its case in the murder trial of Carmelo Anthony after calling 21 witnesses to testify. Anthony is charged with murder in the death of 17-year-old.
So, David, this is that dichotomy where if David Anderson have a perspective outside of the broader Black America, David Anderson called names like the K word, KOON. I never understood people that call themselves pro-black, but they use the nomenclature of white supremacy. If I don't agree with Dave, I'm gonna call him a KOON or an NIGGA. And to me, that's not only transgenerational trauma, that's transgenerational dysfunction. What did you think about the Carmelo Anthony case? And this is your own subjective opinion. You got a right to your own opinion. I got a right to my opinion. But just looking at through the lens of objectivity. What did you think about the Carmelo Anthony situation? I don't know a lot about it, but what did you think about it? Go ahead.
Well, a few things. Number one, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Number two, I lived in Texas. I know when I'm outmatched, outgunned, and not necessarily wanted in a certain place. And while I don't care, I'm not also going to poke the bear. Even with that, for me, I have been beaten down, beaten up, kidnapped, robbed at gunpoint, had guns put to my head, the whole nine. I never killed anybody. I never pulled out a knife. If you push me, I'm going to try and rock your jaw. That's how that goes. In Philly, we got a saying, you can't get along, get a fair one going. Carmelo did not want to shoot the fair one. He basically was like, F around and find out. And then he did the unthinkable. I know everybody want to turn him into Martin Luther Anthony, but he's not. Do I think 35 years is a bit extreme for a kid who made what can only be classified as the most egregious mistake a young man can make at the precipice of adulthood? Yeah, I think 35 years is a bit harsh, but again, you were asked 15 times to bounce. Now, that does not mean that Austin Metcalf, his brother, or whoever hell else was around him, was right in what they were doing. However, nothing justifies taking another person's life.
No, I agree.
Point blank.
I agree.
And that's where I am with it. I think that you had the family spokesperson for Carmelo Anthony. He looks like a drugged up, puffed up Ray J. He did not have the intellectual capability of a flea's last bowel movement, respectfully. Again, my opinion. I think his parents obviously look younger than me, which tells me that they are ill-equipped. I feel a lot of beta energy from Carmelo Anthony's father. I don't look at him as a strong man. You know, I remember I was joining an organization. I will say that. I was joining an organization and I was late to a meeting. And the reason I was late to a meeting is because I found out that my stepfather had kidney failure. And as a result, he had died. I still showed up to the meeting, but I showed up late. And I explained to the person in charge why I was late. And he said to me, well, maybe your dead stepdaddy should have shown you how to have good time management. So once he woke up in his hospital bed with 6 broken ribs and a fractured collarbone, I decided not to join that organization because you're not going to disrespect my family. You understand what I'm saying? But I didn't kill him. I made it clear that I was not going to be disrespected. He effed around and he found out with these. I don't like this culture. And then the other part of that was, and this is the thing that no one wants to talk about. One time, Steve Harvey, and when I say this, I'm not saying that I agree with Steve Harvey on a lot of things, but just the phrasing in of itself is very appropriate here. When Steve Harvey was talking to Monique, he said, we can't do everything they do. We black over here, right? Meaning that if they control that space, they control the pace.
Right.
When you are in that type of a situation, you have to, like, again, ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I'm going somewhere with this, kosher, bear with me. You can't find, and I have 4 firearms in this house. Okay. I call them all Donald Trump. I've got 3 45s and a 47. Do with that information what you like. You know what I mean when I say a 47. So you've never seen me pose with a gun. In your research of me, did you see me pose with a gun anywhere?
No, sir.
And you never will. I'm the son, brother, nephew of cops. Only time you've ever seen me with a gun in a picture is when I'm standing next to my brother at his police academy graduation. Because what they do is they will take a saint and make him a sinner. And then what will happen is you'll hear people say, well, Carmelo Anthony had a 3.5 or 3.9 GPA, and he was this, and he was that, and he was this, and he was that. So he had the discernment and the common sense to get good grades and be a really good student athlete, but he didn't have the common sense to realize that you don't respond to being pushed with a knife. I know people want to make him some type of magical martyr. He's not. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think he deserves empathy. He does. I ache for that young man.
Right.
But I also ache for that other young man's family.
That's true. I agree.
My wife is a twin.
Right.
There have been times when my sister-in-law in Jersey, she's 50 miles up the road, has had a headache, and my wife felt it.
Yes, sir.
And called my sister-in-law, be like, yo, you got a headache? Or my wife could be upset about something. And my sister-in-law will call, be like, yo, is something wrong with your wife? It's a different type of connection, and to have that connection severed, I know what I go through not having my brother here, and we're 7 years apart. I could not imagine being split from an embryo, being in the same womb, literally having the same DNA. My sister-in-law biologically is the mother of my children because she shares the same exact DNA with my wife, because technically they're 2 halves of the same whole. What Austin Metcalf's brother must be going through, I know what the father's going through, and I don't like that watermelon felon stuff. I ain't on that. This is not me Uncle Ruckusing or Stephen from Djangoing. This is me calling balls and strikes, because that young man did not have to die. And if both of them had done a few things different, both of them would still be here. So that's just what it is.
Yeah. And you know, and that's what I mean by incognegro, meaning if you don't think like the mass conglomerate because you are of the same skin hue, then you're not black, or you know, you're a coon. Or I mean, I never understood people that talk about white supremacy, but they use the nomenclature of white supremacy, which is very derogatory, highly disrespectful. and it's not tied to. I don't think you will find black people of that generation. Well, let me take that back.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that were dysfunctional and had low self-esteem, yeah, they used it because there was a way for them to pacify themselves and make themselves feel good. But I never understood that. That's a very derogatory word, you know. But transgenerational trauma, say, use the nomenclature of dysfunctional language, because I don't think the Jews used the language of what the Nazis called them. I don't think Asians used the language of whatever racial groups called them. But somehow people use dysfunction as a term of endearment, which to me is foolish. It never made any sense to me. And that's why I say all skin folk ain't kinfolk, incognegro. Tell me a little bit more about the story. I don't know too much about this Carmelo kid. You said that, so I was under the guise that these guys were bullying him and he tried to protect himself. So you say he was asked to leave 16 times. Break that down for me, because I don't.
16 times. Again, I wasn't there, and there has not been any tape that's been made to the public. So keep what I'm saying with a grain of salt. I can only go by what I've read based on transcripts that the media has gotten. So you got to take this with a grain of salt. But what we all know for a fact is that he was under a tent at a sporting event. I think it was a track meet, if I'm not mistaken. And even some of the witnesses for Carmelo said he was the aggressor, right? And he didn't like the fact that he was being told that he needed to leave. Now, adults weren't telling him to leave. Austin Metcalf was telling him to leave, and he was told to leave 15 times. Like, at some point, you got to just go ahead and say, okay, this is the ego. I get it, but, you know, I'm not going through all this. And what winds up happening is he doesn't. Even there's been things saying that Austin Metcalf said, I ain't trying to fight you at no track meet, so on and so forth. At the end of the day, allegedly, Carmelo Anthony got pushed. When he got pushed, he said, touch me again, you know, and you will see what happened or see what happens. And for whatever reason, he got pushed again, I think. And then the next thing you know, right to the heart.
Oh, wow. See, I didn't.
And so that's the thing. When you say, number one, it's against school policy to have a weapon. Number two, when you say, touch me again, and you reaching in your bag, that's premeditation. Number three, you jabbed him.
Right.
So you can't say self-defense.
Let's play the devil's advocate, or Dave. Let's say if it was, and I, because you know, I was in law enforcement. My first degree was in law enforcement, and all crime is predicated on intent. My cousin was a captain up here with the Raleigh PD at one point. Yes, so sir. I come from a family of law enforcement, like your family as well. I could have been a cop, but I worked in corrections for about 9 years with juveniles and adults. But crime is always predicated on intent. So let's say hypothetically, if two black boys surrounded a young white guy, and the young black boy was stabbed in the heart, do you think the verdict would have been the same, or you think it would have been the same? What do you think?
If two black boys, or black boys are surrounding a white boy, and the white boy stabbed one of them in the heart,
under the same scenario.
Same scenario. It's the same thing. Now, would the sentencing be different? Yes. Statistically, yes. The sentencing would be different because statistically, white people get less sentences. That's not racism. That's not bigotry. That's not victimhood. That's math. But it's still the same scenario, and I feel exactly the same way. I don't think any child who hasn't lived, if I've got shoes older than you in my closet, you haven't lived yet. But by that same token, also, if everything is reversed, then you have an all-black jury, or a jury that is black and black adjacent. You see what I'm saying? So what do you think about the jury? Do you think it should have been more diverse? Do you think if it was more diverse, he wouldn't have gotten to 35 years? He would have went to jail maybe for 20. But do you think he would have still gotten 35? I think the judge does the sentencing. I think the jury just reads the verdict. I also think you have to understand that this is a very, very high profile case, and all of the poverty pimps and the race hustlers decided to, you know, coagulate and form victim Voltron on this case.
Yes, sir. I agree. I totally agree, brother.
That
totally
in
agree.
Of itself was wrong. The other part of that is
Ben Crump,
because I can't stand Ben Crump. we don't want to sit up there and and this new thing that these people do. Oh, and Attorney Crump, Attorney Blake, like just his name is Ben Crump. Nobody walks around calling people attorneys this and attorney that. Like it's very ghetto.
Right.
Again, not saying he didn't earn the title, but you don't have to do that. Like I've never heard anybody calling Johnny Cochran Attorney Cochran. I just find it very arrogant. The thing that people need to understand is because he threatened to do it and then he did it, then you can't argue self-defense because there's a certain level of premeditation there.
Right.
Even if it's in the heat of the moment.
Right.
You can't argue self-defense if you're reaching in your bag and saying, touch me again, see what happens. So that's out the window. The best you can hope for is to put yourself at the mercy of the judicial system and say, listen, let's see if we can plead the man one. That's just what it is. But I can't see. I think 35 years wouldn't have happened if the white boy had killed the black boy. Just from statistics, they tend to get more time.
Dave, that's for you, brother. Go ahead.
All right, P5 Man Podcast. Thank you for the $10 super chat. It said Carmelo Anthony made choices where he forfeited his own future. He should have made a different choice. Lives have been ruined all the way around. It is so sad. We need to do better at raising up young people, and that's what I don't like about the beta male simp mangina apocalypse. Because when even Charleston White was like, yo, I talked to the dad, so on and so forth. The next day, Charleston White was like, yo, he's soft. I can't deal with him. You on your own. Go get Ben Crump or somebody like that. I can't deal with you. You gotta go. And that's the thing, because my whole thing is if somebody did that to one of my girls, I'm promised I got a different level of energy. And I know lived a pretty clean life. And if somebody did that to one of my girls, I'm going in like Shawshank.
Yeah, I know.
Like old boy who waited at the airport. You know what I'm talking about? Right. And same energy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we know. Yeah, I believe you. I believe you'll take somebody out. Hold tight, Dave.
Austin Metcalf, who was fatally stabbed during a high school track meet on April 2nd, 2025 at Kuykendall Stadium in Frisco, Texas. Austin was a student at Memorial High School, while Anthony attended Centennial High School. According to prosecutors, the evidence presented during the state's case supports a charge of murder rather than self-defense. The state argues that the confrontation began during a weather delay when student athletes gathered under team tents. Prosecutors say Anthony was sitting under the Memorial High School tent despite not being a Memorial student. Multiple witnesses testified that several Memorial students asked Anthony to leave the area. According to the state's theory, tensions escalated after Austin Metcalf also told Anthony to move. Prosecutors claim the encounter quickly turned violent and resulted in Austin being stabbed.
What happened to me and just shutting the fuck up and going to work? Every time. It's a podcast. It's a meme. It's a stream. Take y'all ass to work. Shut the fuck up. Y'all talk too damn much about nothing. About how y'all ain't giving the women no motherfucking money. We don't want to hear it, okay? We don't want to hear it. Okay, you broke. We got it. Like, please. I'm tired of the think pieces. I'm tired of it. Damn, just be quiet.
Now, from racialized idolatry to defective women being disrespectful to black men like this woman, this heifer. Why do you think that? Listen, we understand that there's a culture of victimization. Well, we understand the historical context of systemic racism, but I don't think everything ain't racism. We got to stop that. You know, I remember when I was in school, you know, the kid would get mad at the teacher and say he racist. No, the teacher ain't racist. You just lazy. You didn't want to do your work. No. You trying to use it as a scapegoat. And when you hear this woman disrespect black men, but also, it's like when it come down to, you know, like some of these white liberals use black folks as talking points and whipping boards. When a black man get killed, Black Lives Matters, Adolf black men murder. But then when it come down to these same people going to PTA meetings, because I was a teacher, These same people going to nurturing the boys and feeding the boys and teaching the girls and reading them books. It's like they always come out in droves when it's some dealing with perceived victimization. We're not saying that it have not exist or that sometimes the criminal system is not always fair, but some of this stuff is just lack of awareness and also scapegoatism, and people use scapegoats like you were talking about, the Ben Crumps of the world, these race hustlers, to keep black folks or some people that look like us in a perpetual cycle of victimization. I'm not one of the black folks that say, like some conservatives that say, well, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't believe in that, but also I don't believe in this liberal nonsense where white liberals use black folks to push their own nefarious agendas as well. What's your take on that? On that?
My whole thing is, number one, when we're dealing with the stiff wig baby hairs that are on an adult, talking about what a man used to do, a man would never be with a woman who was going to talk that way, let alone provide for her. The other part of that is a lot of men are on podcast mics because for once in our lives, we're able to have conversations that we weren't allowed to have before. And that is what a lot of them can't stand, because they have been able to ride roughshod for a very long time, and we're no longer having that nonsense. So as a result, we find ourselves in a situation where we're not putting up with it anymore. And again, this is what I was talking about earlier in the show. You've got these extra average women thinking they're better than what they are. And it's just like, no, you're not worth providing for. And the Bible even said it is better to stand in the roof of your house than be in a home with a quarrelsome woman.
Right. And that's happening more so. And like you were saying about the simps, some of them tolerate it. Look at this story about Carmelo. You talked about the dad being a simp. Tell me what you think about this whole time.
So after raising almost $500,000, the Anthony family has officially, not allegedly, finally told everybody where some of that money is actually going. Now remember, a lot of y'all were in my comments acting like people were spreading lies when we questioned whether that fundraiser was only for legal expenses. Y'all call folks fake news, haters, all kinds of things, but don't take my word for it. Let's look at what the family said themselves. They wrote, while legal defense is a critical part of this journey, we want to make it clear that this fund is not solely dedicated to legal expenses. Wait, what was that? Not solely for legal expenses? Then they go on to say the money will cover a range of urgent and necessary needs, including but not limited to, and that's the important part, not limited to, the safe relocation of the Anthony family. Translation, a new place to live. They also mention basic living expenses like groceries, bills, and other day-to-day costs because of the situation surrounding the case. Now look, if that's where the money is going, that's their statement, not mine. But I do find it interesting that people spent months insisting the fundraiser was only about legal defense, and now we're hearing something very different directly from the family themselves. So what do y'all think? If people donate to a legal defense fundraiser, should that money also be allowed to cover relocation, living expenses, and transportation? Or should every dollar stay strictly tied to legal costs?
The two students who got into a fight at the...
What do you think about that, brother? Go ahead.
Again, it's so funny. One thing that I do know is that the Give, Send, Go got canceled. So I don't know what happened there, but I remember the first time when this case first broke a couple of years ago, that there was a lot of talk about how much money they raised and what they chose to do with the money and so on and so forth. I'm not surprised. When you have a mother that won't even stay for your son's sentencing, that tells you something.
Oh! I didn't know that she didn't stay for his sentencing.
She was a character witness at his sentencing, and then she left. By all accounts,
really,
that I've heard.
I didn't know that, man.
Yeah. So there's a lot here, and I think there's a lot of immaturity, not only on Carmelo Anthony's part, but on the father of Austin Metcalf and on Carmelo Anthony's parents. I think it's absolutely insane. And for me, again, I don't like anybody using funds that are meant for one thing to do another, and then they go back and backtrack. So, well, we was going to do this with it. There's a movie called A Time to Kill, which is based on a John Grisham novel. And in that movie, the NAACP and somebody that marched with Dr. King. There's always somebody that marched with Dr. King in these things. And he said, yeah, you know, we raised this money for this dude's defense. And he was like, well, I can use it on any lawyer I want. Well, I want this lawyer, but you know, we got this lawyer for you that we picked out. And he was like, no, I don't want that lawyer. I want the lawyer I got, give him the money, and that's that.
Mm-hmm.
So again, are you using the money for what it's intended for, or are you on that BS? That is, in and of itself is one of those things. But I think the children are childlike. And when I say the children, I mean his parents are childlike. And I think that you're going to get, if you got babies having babies, you're going to have a baby that's a baby.
Yeah, right. I totally 100% agree with that. Let me show you this real quick. I know you got to go in a few, but let me show you this real quick. Hold tight.
Absolutely.
Graduation ceremony have had their diplomas revoked. The two suddenly clashed while receiving their diplomas. Witnesses stated that both had long sought more attention on campus. It was precisely this intense desire for recognition and need to be noticed that ultimately led them to choose such extreme measures to attract attention in front of everyone. However, instead of applause, they received the school's harshest disciplinary action. Many believe that a graduation ceremony should belong to all graduates, not serve as a stage for a few individuals to seek attention. Ruining years of hard work for a momentary burst of attention is undoubtedly an extremely heavy price to pay. For the other graduates, this ceremony, which should have been filled with honor and blessings, was nearly ruined by this senseless farce. Consequently, the university decided to revoke the two students' graduation eligibility. Additionally, they face charges related to disturbing public order and property damage. The girl who danced at the graduation ceremony has had her diploma revoked. By dancing excessively while receiving her degree and attempting to steal the spotlight from the officials and other graduates, she disrupted the solemn atmosphere that the ceremony was meant to have. The university stated that the graduation ceremony is a collective event for all students, not a stage for individual performances. As she made her way onto the stage, she repeatedly jumped and spun around, causing a commotion that forced faculty and staff to intervene and restore order. The university emphasized that graduation is a recognition of years of hard work, not an opportunity for individual students to show off.
What happened to shame, Dave Anderson? What happened to shame? What happened to shame? And it doesn't need to come back.
Shame, bro. What? Have you seen a dodo bird in your lifetime? You're too young.
Yeah, I've seen a dodo bird.
You've seen they're extinct. They were extinct.
Right. Gotcha. I see your point.
You know they existed. Like
yes,
I've
sir,
seen a T-Rex.
Gotcha. I agree. Yes, sir.
Shame has been extinct.
Right.
And what killed shame is the meteorite called social media. What killed shame is the meteorite called the simp apocalypse. What killed shame is the strong, independent single mom that says, "That's my baby." And let me explain something to you. Legally, you can't revoke if they've met the requirements for their education. You can't revoke their diploma. I would sue them into the Stone Ages. Now, having said that, I am sick of seeing screaming, loud, dancing, clapping, yelling, bouncing, backflipping, twerking people with caps and gowns on. Not doing that. That's absolutely insane. Dancing is one thing, but being like all cuckoo with it, nah, we good.
Shout out to my man Gregory Scotland. He says, salute, Coach. I'm sure you have noticed the simps and so-called conservatives that come back to attack the passport bros. What do you think about male sovereignty, David, and men living their lives on their own terms? Because maybe David has always been that way. But what do you think about male sovereignty? And we got a racist here. We're going to, you see, you can't have coaching conversation without a jackass, man. But let me ban
it is what
Go ahead,
it
brother.
is. I'm really cool. I love the block button. Here's my thing. As a conservative man, I see nothing wrong with black male sovereignty. I see nothing wrong with a guy wanting to go where he's appreciated. If I can't change the people around me, I change the people around me. Period, point blank. I think that if you understand what's going on, because that in and of itself, there's a difference between going someplace to have a good time and enjoy yourself versus sex tourism versus, I'm over there and I'm going to get somebody's going to put something in my drink. And then the next thing I'm going to wind up, butt naked with no money in a Sri Lankan hotel somewhere. Like, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is up to you to find what makes you happy.
Right.
Whatever that is. And it's
Mm-hmm.
nobody else's business. Now, the thing of it is, and this is what I tried to explain on the men's table weeks and weeks ago.
Right.
There have been 73 shows about women traveling overseas to find love, but we ain't called them passport girls. We ain't even talking about, you know, women, Patty Stanger, Millionaire Matchmaker, all these shows. So to me, it's only an issue when men start to realize that we have options, because the same way the world has opened up for women, the world has opened up for men. And men will always be valued. And my whole thing is, if I can't change the people around me, I will change the people around me. Me personally, I enjoy the company of a foundational Black American woman. That is what it is. But in some alternate universe, if I could not find my queen, I would do. Listen, what did Prince Hakeem of Zamunda do? He traveled the world to find his woman. And by the way, if you can go, and this is what I tell this to women all the time who talk about how it's so hard and this, that, and the third. Women have. I said, how old are you? Young ladies. One young lady said, "Oh, I'm 29." I said, "Cool. Have you ever been on a rich man's boat?" Yeah. I said, "Do you own a boat yourself?" No. Exactly.
Right. 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 And you know, men historically have lived their lives on their own terms. I mean, during the war times, it was not, you know, it wasn't uncommon, even though there was some levels of racism for Black men to get with German women or to get with Japanese women. And listen, I get it. You know, I you know, if a man want to be with a Black woman, that's fine. I don't knock that, but I'm not going to limit myself to a person just because of skin color. I refuse to do that. If an Asian woman treat me good, I'll marry an Asian woman. Now, you're right. I've been with my wife for 31 years. Before my mom died last year, my mom and dad were together for almost 60 years. But in this current world we live in now, if I was a single man again, if an Asian or Afro Latino or whatever treated me well as a Black man or white woman, Italian, I show them love. I'm not going to limit myself because of no skin color, because my whole premise is this, David. Where was the so-called Black community when Dave Anderson was on his Essential? Where was the Black community when Dave Anderson was taking baths out of a sink at a gas station? Where were they at? Where was the nowhere to be found. Where was did your community celebrate you when you graduated from Temple and after you got your master's degree? They didn't celebrate me. If anything, they were jealous and they didn't say anything. They didn't say anything. They saw the excellence. So if a white man show me love, I'm gonna show the white man love. I'm not gonna limit nobody just because of no skin color. I don't. I look at people case by case, because some of my greater detractors, they always want to talk Black unity. They never support me. They never supported me in the first place, and they haven't supported me even up to this point. But you keep talking about pro-Blackness when it's convenient, but you don't even support me when things are not going bad. So I don't get.
And that's why I'm always consistent in my support of my people. And I'm not talking about supporting Black business. I'm talking about making sure that they know that I'm there, that I can help, that I'm offering my services, those types of things. I'm also very consistent in making sure. I think the most revolutionary act we can do is have a Black family. Now, having said that, I will say this: had I not found my queen, bruh,
you would have been a passport bro.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have been a passport bro, but I damn sure. Like, my father taught me very early on, go out, see the world. I saw the world. You know what I'm saying? But for me, and this is my thing, right? I don't, and again, I don't knock anybody for whatever they choose. I got plenty of people in my family, even my own brother did not marry a Black woman. But I will say this: I love the comfort of having a cultural frame of reference. That I don't have to explain why I am the way I am, how I feel the way I feel. And yes, that is the $1 million title in the background. That's Ted DiBiase's $1 million title. Yes, it is authentic. Because he's also a person that, again, to your point, when it comes to white people show you love, this, that, and the third, that man is one of the biggest advocates for stopping recidivism in prisons, especially when it comes to Black people. So a lot of people don't know that man, like, I've gone into prisons and he has really supported me speaking to these brothers out here who don't want or don't know how to navigate a system outside of the criminal element. And I tell anybody, the prison system is criminal college. So yeah, you know, I believe in love. I believe in us. And I think one of the things that strengthens us and what strengthened us up until 1965 and what continues to create a certain level of growth in us is the perpetuation, the growth, and the cultivation of a Black family. Say what you want, but who's the greatest entertainer who's ever walked the face of the earth?
Oh yes, Michael Jackson.
You know where Michael Jackson came from?
Right.
A strong patriarchal family union. Say what you want about Joe. Oh, Joe was beating the kids. I want to be beat like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Where their least performing child outsold you.
Serena and Venus Williams too, even though they don't venerate their father like they should, in my opinion.
No, but guess what? Champions. Never before, never again. Like when people talk tennis, they talk Williams sisters and then McEnroe.
I agree. I think right. Go ahead.
Ain't nobody talking about Marina Navratilova.
Right.
Ain't nobody. No. What is we talking about? Greatness. Greatness comes from discipline. The word discipline has a root word in it. Disciple.
Yeah, disciple. Yep. I'm glad you said that. You know what? You listen, Dave. You and I think on the same wavelength, like brother Paul Elam. But let me show you something, because you must be thinking like me, because I created something for this show, and let me see if I can find it. And this was my premise. Where is it at? Because I said something about discipline. I created a banner. As soon as I find it, I want to show it to you.
You good?
But let me read this super chat by my man. Gregory Scotland. He said the American Black family really started on this vanishing road around the time the book came out called Dark Ghetto. What do you know about that, Dave?
This is the first time hearing the Dark Ghetto.
Well, what would you say about the sentiment in general?
I think what winds up happening is, here's the thing. Once you realize that all you have to do to get rid of your enemy is destroy them in the media, if I can control your image, I can control your destiny. And I can predict within a certain amount of time what it's going to take in order for you to be gone. There's a guy named Ian Halperin. I want you to look him up. And Ian Halperin is famous for one thing. Do you know what that one thing is?
No, I don't. No, tell me.
Ian Halperin said Michael Jackson has less than 6 months to live. And everybody went, oh, this dude's a nut. 5.5 months later, Michael was gone. Because Ian was talking to a bunch of people who saw what was happening, who saw the setup, who saw what was, and I'm not trying to put on my tinfoil turban tonight, but again, he called it. And certain people were trying to separate Joe from Michael. And Joe warned Mike, like, yo, you have all these people around you, they're just going to yes you to death, and they're going to let you do everything. You missed out. And I think for all the greatness you want and all the freedom that you want, there's a certain level of growth. So what I'm saying, all that to say is, if you can control the narrative, if you control the energy around someone, if you control who is feeding them, who is handling their medicine, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. I agree with that 100%. And like I said, Dave, I don't see it getting no better in our lifetime. I know you're an optimist, man. I see things through the lens of pragmatism and systems, but also through the lens of theology. The scripture said, unless God build a house, then the labor builds it in vain.
Amen.
In order for there to be evolution, there must be a de-evolution. The old system got to be destroyed, and there are some say that we're heading towards a one world order. Now, I don't know if you believe in that stuff or not, but I tell people, Dave, that conspiracy theories are just conspired truths. They call them theory because it's hidden.
Because there's no such thing as a conspiracy theory. That term came up after the Kennedy assassination, and we know who's behind that.
So I call it a conspired truth, and the powers that be just don't want to believe in it because there's a such thing called confirmation bias.
Correct.
And if people really saw what was really coming into this world, it will scare them. So most folks would rather have their head like an ostrich in the sand
Mhm.
instead of dealing with reality.
Uh-huh.
When you talk about your daughters, Dave, what is your greatest fear for the generation for your babies, man? You know, you have been a stalwart. You've been a clarion caller.
Mhm.
But what is your biggest fear for your daughters when it comes down to finding a good man, a good husband to marry?
I think my oldest daughter has found one. Thank you,
Good.
God. I
Hmm.
like the little boy. I think he's extremely nice. But my youngest, I'm afraid that a lot of these uh young men out here aren't readers. I'm afraid that they don't prioritize masculinity. I am afraid that we are the fattest, the sickest, the laziest versions of ourselves. We are the first generation that is going to do worse than our parents. And we have raised a generation that is probably going to do worse than them.
Hmm.
There's this old adage that says, uh, hard times create strong men. Strong
Strong
men
men,
create
right? Hmm.
soft times. Soft
Hmm.
times create weak men.
Yep.
And I think what has happened is there has been too much soft times
Hmm.
creating weak men.
Dave, I had prepared this right before we had this conversation, and I
Mm.
said this a while ago in the past. I say, in order to have a woman following your leadership, I strongly believe that for a man to have a good wife, she has to have emotional regulation.
Mm-hmm.
That means she has to be
100%.
disciplined. And you're right. As I've always said, I was a former teacher. A
Yes,
person
sir.
that has discipline is a disciple. So that means you have to have what's called self-regulation. And so
Mm-hmm.
discipline brings order.
Yep.
Order brings structure, and structure brings civility. But you got to be a willing participant. You can't be a grown woman with childish tendencies, which is arrested development. That's
Yes,
why I
indeed.
said that, ideally, if a man could get a solid woman, I would say wife ready, low bodies to virgin, no kids. But the most important thing is having emotional regulation.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about your mom, when you think about your grandmom, what is the greatest stark difference you saw in those women compared to the women of now?
The difference is there were standards, and
Hmm.
not standards in the I need to have this type of way. They had standards for themselves. There's certain things that they just would not do.
Hmm.
I remember coming to my mother once and I said, no matter what was going on, I don't think I've ever seen you cry.
Hmm.
I used to tell my mom, like, yo, I wish you'd have hugged me more. And my mother said something to me. She said, your father got Alzheimer's and dementia. I was raising two boys into men.
Hmm.
My tears were none of your business.
Hmm.
I saved my tears for God and my pillow. And I was like, yo, as a parent now who has an adult child, I understand exactly what she meant. She was trying to make sure that she picked up the ball where my father couldn't carry it anymore, to make sure that I understood stoicism and understood why things happen, or what could be, or how you move. When I looked at my grandmother didn't tolerate nothing. My grandfather acted up. My grandmother went and bought the house around the corner. So my grandfather got sick, and when he got sick, you know what my grandmother did? She fulfilled her duty as a wife, and she came back and took care of my grandfather, and they stayed
Hmm.
happily after.
Yeah, yes, sir. Right, right, right,
So she did the
right.
strong and independent thing, bought a house
Hmm.
around the corner. But when he
Hmm.
took ill, she
Hmm.
came back and he got a new attitude,
Hmm.
because she
Hmm.
showed up like a
Hmm.
servant, and then he started to make sure that he was leading with a little bit more discipline and respect.
Right, right,
You
right,
see what I'm
right.
saying? There is
Yes, sir.
balance
Right.
there. There was duality. What
It was
happens
duality,
now
right?
is if you got two, you got a phone. Obviously, you got a phone,
Yes, sir.
right? What kind of phone you got?
I got a Samsung Note 20 Ultra.
Oh, we were doing so well, Kosher. You are one of these Android people.
I'm an
You
Android man.
people are
My
weird.
my girls got your phone.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
The
they're
Apple
good women.
phones, but
Yeah, listen. As a parent, you always want your children to do better than you. Anyway, the thing of
Go
it
ahead,
is,
dog. Go ahead, go ahead.
if I got two
Right.
chargers and no outlet, what do I have?
Mm-hmm.
A dead phone.
A dead phone, right?
Don't matter if I got 10 charges if I ain't got no outlet.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
We need each other. I am
Mm-hmm.
tired of the gender wars, which are fake propaganda put up by people who profit from keeping us separate instead
I
of
totally
keeping us
agree.
in
I agree.
in a
I agree.
place where we
I agree.
know
I agree.
what our roles are. Everybody ain't meant to be Beyonce. Some people got to be Kelly Rowland, other people got to be Michelle Williams, right? Other people got to be Matthew Knowles, other people got to be Jay-Z. You got to understand where you play in the hierarchy of needs and know your role, shut your mouth, and play your part. That's the problem. We keep acting like it's separate. It's not separate, it's synergy. And we've got to start valuing synergy, and we got to start making sure that, number one, men, you guard your seed, women, you guard your gate.
Right.
Until you find somebody worthy. I don't give a damn how fine she is.
That's
I don't
right.
care how strong he is, or Pookie did this. I heard Pookie
Right.
can put it
Right.
down. Yeah, Pookie put it down, all right.
Mm-hmm.
We got to start realizing that the only way we succeed is together.
I totally agree, man. But listen, it's going to take listen. I think it's going to take a whole apocalypse for that to happen.
The whole apocalypse is upon us.
It's upon us, brother. Brittany said, "Hi, I just scrolled in." She said, "Tell me what you think about what she said, Dave." I'll let you read that, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, poll question. I think the media ended the good look of the black family. I was born in 90. Oh my God, I got shoes older than you. We had the Cosbys, Family Matters, Fresh Prince, etc. All functional, loving family. Yeah, because again, the image of the media was different. Look at what happened. And this is a statistical fact. And you can say whatever you want to say about Dr. Cosby, but you will not disparage him in my presence. Dr. Cosby, as a result of the Cosby Show and A Different World, had black folks enrolling in college at record numbers, HBCU specifically in record rates.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Black people ain't know nothing about Calabasas or Bel Air or none of that until Will Smith said, now this is a story. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Right.
There are more people who became scientists because of LeVar Burton on Star Trek and Steve Urkel on Family Matters.
Yes, sir. Right.
From 1990 on.
I agree.
That's how powerful the media is.
That's how powerful.
That's how powerful that messaging is.
It's funny you said that, Dave, because my wife went to Shaw. And Bill Cosby used to rock Shaw University, man. He used to rock it. And the thing that, I've always been very ambitious, but the thing that really motivated me was looking at Jet Magazine, where I saw
Beauty of the Week, huh?
Right, but not just forgive me, Lord, for I'm sin, but there were times where they had the educated section, and they might say, "Well, Dave Anderson going to Temple University." I said, "Man, I want to be like Dave." So when I saw, I've always been very ambitious. I was a class president.
Same, I was a class president.
Yeah, I was class. Well, I take that back. My junior year, I was the class president. I was going to win it my senior year until I slipped up and cursed, and they revoked it. Man, I was so hurt and angry, man. But they took it from me. But when you would see the educated section in Ebony, it might say Dave Anderson, went to Temple and got his master's from I don't know what school. That motivated me, and that was part of a black excellence where people wanted to do good, have strong families and whatnot. But it seemed like around the 90s with gangster rap, I remember you were talking about like Clive Davis, and you were talking about Clive Davis and a lot of them. They began to perpetuate the deterioration that we see now. When you and I were teenagers, like I call you baby X because you 48. I'm true X, which is 55. And I was more around your brother's age.
Yes, sir.
But I remember a time when music was music. There were simps back in the 90s too, man. They don't get me wrong. There was simps in Gen X. But I would argue that the women was a different quality of women. But the media and this false personification of worth have made, as we were talking about earlier in the show, average women think that they are better than what they really are.
Certainly. I think at this point we've got to understand that we had a balance that just does not exist anymore. Because once they realize that you can control an entire nation with music, you listen to the Fight the Power, and all of a sudden, it's crazy. Folks out here rioting. No. We're not doing that no more. We're getting that up out of here. So now if you notice, there's a bunch of ratchet rap. There's no balance anymore.
Right.
you know, and that's by design. And I tell people all the time, because this is what they do. The media will say, well, the rappers are doing all that's why you have so much black on black crime. And first of all, crime because of proximity is crime because of proximity. In your lifetime, you have never heard about the crime in France and heard of the franc on franc crime.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you ain't never heard of Jap on Jap crime. You ain't never heard of white on white crime. So now all of a sudden, black on black crime. Crime is crime, and crime happens where you are, where resources.
I've always
aren't.
said that. I've always said that.
I'm believing black on black crime.
And I'm gonna prove your point in a minute. Somebody said, Fit Tampa said, "Kosher, what's your lineage? Is it from America or another country?" Well, I don't know what that means, but I'm American, but my roots do go back to Nigeria. Mostly Nigerian, based on bloodline. They're from Nigeria.
23andMe, or are you talking like your grandfather?
Well, I mean, according to Ancestry, that's what they say.
That means you're foundational, bro. Go on.
Yeah, right. But
everybody traces back to Nigeria, and then
right.
Yeah, but my point, because like somebody said, well, rap does to perpetuate the gang culture, though. It makes it cool and kids are impressionable. Here's what you don't understand. Shout out to Teddy Marcel, said I gave Kosher a follow. Enjoyed listening on my way home. Thanks so much for checking in. Yeah, I think a YouTube member. But
yes, sir.
Here's the thing that I need people to understand. While you're looking at the rappers get signed. The people who are doing the signing do not look like us, and won't let their kids listen to the very music that they sign these artists to make. That's all I'm saying. Young Thug isn't showing up at Leo Cohen's 16-year-old's birthday party. That's what I'm talking about. So if these people, if the Leo Cohens, the Scooter Browns, the Clive Davises, the Jimmy Iovines are all making money off of your death and dismemberment and psychological destruction, what incentive do they have to stop it?
Yeah, right. I agree with that. And I think your sentiment, let me show you something, because I agree with your sentiment. Let me show you something real quick. So when you think about ancient African tribes, you know, you're right. It wasn't called black people of African descent that are complicit in their own demise. It's called ethnic conflict. All people of different hues have ethnic conflict, and I'm going to prove it. It goes back to what I was talking about earlier. The tribes prior to the transatlantic slave trade, you had what's called intertribal conflict, warring nations from different countries. But then sometimes there was intra-tribal conflict, meaning like, say you and Dave, you and I are from the same family, same tribe, we fought and killed one another. But I will argue that there was more intertribal conflict than intra-tribal conflict. But the way the masses try to sell it is that they say those were your people, and that's a misnomer. That's not necessarily true. And I'm gonna keep spinning. If you go back, Dave, and look at history, it was the struggle that made black folks one essence. That's what made us one. From Jim Crow racism, all of that made black people one. That made us great. We became one essence. Like George Clinton said, one nation under the groove. We became one essence due to the struggle. And we tend to identify as one essence as brothers and sisters because of the struggle. But we're nowhere near as unified. America's not unified as we were in the past. And I think a lot of that has been due to like the Clive and Piven theory. You know what that is, right?
Explain it to me.
So the Clive and Piven theory is similar to, it was these Marxists that went into black churches, and it was divide and conquer. You know, they used Marxist techniques. They infiltrated, and they seduced some of these black preachers, and it was all tied to culture, tied to Marxism. You had to look it up.
That's crazy.
We became one essence under the struggle, but we were never universally one. You remember in Roots, the man said, who speaks the language of the Wolof? Who speaks the language of the Fulani? When they were all on the slave ship, they were never one. We were never one in Africa. We were from different countries and different
100%.
tribes in Africa, but people assume just because your skin color is black, or some people are saying your people sold you into slavery. Well, let's look at the facts then, because if that's the case, then David, do we have that same energy for the American war, the patriots against the Brits? That was white on white crime.
Last I checked.
Am I right or wrong?
You are absolutely right. 100%.
That was I would call it intra-tribal conflict. It was intra-tribal conflict that metastasized It was intertribal conflict that metastasized to intratribal conflict. But some, not all, but some whites and some black conservatives would say your own people, but that's a misnomer because you fight the people within your own ethnic circle. That's just been that's just been normal for whatever. But for some reason, people never saw black folks in America as coming from different tribes. They saw us as like nameless black people with no identity, and that's why things get lost in translation. If you look at all the American wars, Dave, World War I from 1914 to 1918, that was white on white violence. Am I right or wrong?
You are 100% right.
World War II was white on white violence. The European wars was white on white violence. But nobody don't talk about that. but when black folks kill each other, they say, well, your own people kill each other. But you won't say that when that was going on back in all the wars that was happening in the Americas. You know, when you look at the Indian Wars, Dave, Native American Indians were complicit in tribal warfare against one another.
100%.
Some Indians actually help white cavalrymen capture and kill other Native Americans. But why is it only applicable when it comes down to black people?
Because we are what sells newspapers. We are what sells the 10 o'clock news. We are the ultimate thing that people fear. They fear our prowess. They fear the image that has been created. So yeah, no, I'm 100% not surprised by this.
Right. Well, listen, before you go, man, what'd you get out of the conversation, man? This has been a good one. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, man.
You know, I laugh at you because you know, I was a special ed teacher, so I know what dyscalculia is, dyslexia, and also ADHD. They tend to parallel together. We call it comorbidity. But what did you get out of the conversation, man? What was so good about the conversation? What did you get from it, brother? Go ahead.
I enjoy talking to people who love having honest conversation. You know, and for me, I love being able to talk about certain topics that a lot of people are afraid of. And I think having strong masculine men conversations in this type of format gives people an opportunity to see where we're coming from in a place that's not confrontational. We don't agree on absolutely everything.
Right.
Shit. I think that's weird. I don't believe in echo chambers, but I do believe in respect. I believe you can I believe you can disagree without being disagreeable.
Right.
And I want us to understand that the only way we learn is by putting ourselves in a position to learn from people who don't necessarily see the world the way that we do.
And I think we got to keep having these honest, open conversations. What's been your greatest putback, Dave, before I let you go? What's been your greatest putback? Shout out to my man Ray Johnson. He just hit me with another cash app. Shout out to Ray Johnson for that 20. Thank you, brother Ray Johnson, for the $20 cash app. But what is your detractors and your critics, Dave? What do they say about Dave Anderson from the Hollywood mongrels? I know you said they talked about you losing weight, but how did you navigate coming out of that highly polluted area and just doing your own thing now, doing Dave?
It took a lot because, again, even though it's Hollywood, people don't understand. It's still a job. You're still applying. You're still auditioning. You're still sending out tapes. You're still going through the things. You got to go to the networking events. It's still the same type of thing. And so I had to train myself to realize that I don't need anybody else's permission to be great. I was born great. I'm going to die great. Even if it didn't burn up in the fire, but if you were to call my mother right now and ask her how I was born, she would tell you that I came out into the world with my eyes open and my arms stretched as if to say, ta-da, I'm here. Congratulations, world, you're welcome. So what I was born with can't be replaced. And what God put in me has made me who I am. It's not about, a lot of us have magic feather syndrome. If you've ever seen Dumbo, he was convinced that he could fly because he had this magic feather instead of the fact that he had big old ears. You understand what I'm saying? So once you understand that there is no magic feather and you can fly without it, you can fly without that Hollywood machine. You can make money without that Hollywood machine. You can live a great life. You can put up 22 books, you know, back to back to back. You ain't got that many time for that. Just 23 books. So for me, I'm at a point in my life where I'm too busy working on what I want to do next, whatever that thing is, whatever God puts in me, to worry about what somebody has to say about me, you know? I started doing my morning show. Next thing I know, I was making some songs for the morning show, and then folks was like, "Yo, you should drop a record." And I put out an album. It's called Shill Music. It's available absolutely everywhere. You can get it on my site. I'm going to give away a couple thanks to you. And you know, I don't believe in limitations. The only limitation we have is the image we see of ourselves.
I agree.
And so for me, I'm always thankful for people to allow me to have have the platform to come and speak. And I'm honored that you let me make this happen, man. It's a real treasure for me, man. So I'm grateful.
I appreciate, man. You being a man of your caliber, man. That means the world to me as well. And the thing I loved about you, man, you were consistent. The communication was good.
Yes, sir.
And you were very punctual, man. And because of that, I appreciate it, man. But listen, man, we will do this again at some point, maybe on your show, or you'll come back on mine, or we're playing the show. But I really appreciate you tapping in. I know you want to get with your family, man. But thank you, brother.
Indeed.
You take care of yourself,
you for
man.
having me. You too,
God
man.
bless,
Thank you so
All
much.
right. Yes, sir.
Appreciate
Be good, Dave. Yes, sir. All right. Be good. All right, guys. That's my man, Dave Anderson. Shout out to everyone that's donated. Shout out to my man, St. John James Palmer, my man, Ray Johnson, as they are the #1 sponsors of the stream. So, guys, we're going to end this show. Thank you guys for tuning in. And we're going to end this show now. And you guys, y'all have a good night. I don't know who's winning the game, guys. I don't know who's winning the game, but anyway, we're going to be signing out. Thank you for everybody, Dave's people as well, that tuned in. And guys, we're going to end this show. And I will be seeing you guys soon. I'm about to go look at this game if it's still on. So I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you guys once again for tuning in.
Fire for your mind. Courtship clinician.
If it ain't seven, it ain't culture. Heaven and hell, that's what they told you. Real men put the strap down and we can toss them. Young heads picking back up in young dolphins. This is our culture. Now we talking kosher. Clinician, masculinity issues. Absent fathers who miss you. Mama drama don't kiss you. All a part of the ritual. This is how they get you. Separate the men, women clipping babies pretend to. Damn. Lovers, haters acting like vultures. If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. Listen. Listen.
Money line, I'ma run it every time. Give me mine, going up, need no decline. Money line, I'ma run it every time. Give me mine, going up, need no decline. Yeah. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my ass. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my money line. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my money line. Why check Castro, yeah, I need my money line. Watch out for those who surround you, need no funny kind. You can't see what's on my brain, I live inside my mind. Out of space and out of sight, you need me in my line. Need no face, don't need no phonies, no. Need no snakes, no only homies, down for show. On go. Get a book and get the front and we load up and roll. I got kids, yeah, I got staff, I make a little need more. I sell records, you sell packs, not on my level, no. I'm a pop star, I'm a rock star, I'm a winner. Think I'm not hard, you smoke rock hard, we